Hi, welcome to my channel. The full version of the audiobook is available on my Patreon. You can quickly find it through the link in my profile description. Thank you for your support.
Chapter 1, FA Cup Debut, A Spectacular Through Ball. New book, please add to favorites. January 4, 2014. England, on the River Trent. Stock. The Britannia Stadium, which can hold 28,000 spectators, was already filled with the loud singing of Stoke City fans. This is a scene from the third round of the FA Cup in England. The match had already reached the 75-minute mark. The score remains 1-0, with the home team Stoke City leading the visiting team Leicester City by 1 goal. At that time, Leicester City was still playing in the Championship, and the team's strength was significantly inferior to that of Premier League team Stoke City. Therefore, the situation on the field was basically that Stoke City pinned Leicester City in their own half and launched a barrage of attacks. The difficult situation on the field left Leicester City's coaching staff, led by manager Nigel Pearson, and the substitutes with serious expressions. On the Leicester City bench, a handsome young man with dark hair was intently watching the game, muttering incomprehensible Chinese to himself. "There's space, we can drive it straight in. Oh dear, the pass was too slow, it had no offensive power whatsoever. Nugent is so bad, he should be taken off the field. If I were on the field, I could definitely put together some great plays with Vardy." The other substitutes at Leicester City never expected that their teammate would be sitting on the bench giving wild advice, as if he could change the game the moment he stepped onto the field. After 24 rounds of the Championship, Leicester City are at the top of the table and have a good chance of winning the Championship title this year and being promoted to the Premier League. Moreover, the team's key players had just played a league match just 3 days prior. Considering the players' fitness and the importance of the match, Leicester City manager Nigel Pearson whispered a few words to his assistant coach Steve Walsh and then decided to strategically abandon this insignificant cup match and focus on winning the league title. Turning his head to glance at the young, eager faces on the bench, head coach Pearson's gaze lingered briefly on the dark-haired youth, and a piece of information about him immediately came to mind. Ling Feng, an 18-year-old Englishman of Chinese descent, is a midfielder for Leicester City's U21 youth team. This young man has solid fundamentals, generally above the average level of the youth team. What impressed the youth team coaches the most was his diligence. In addition to completing the team's daily training, he would also do extra training in various individual skills on his own. However, his talent is limited to this. As a midfielder, his vision is average, and he cannot deliver penetrating and lethal passes. He lacks excellent dribbling skills and cannot dribble past opponents or draw defenders. They also lack strong physical confrontation and defense, as well as excellent positioning and the ability to make late runs and shoot from distance. The only commendable thing is their abundant physical strength, which allows them to run all over the field. In short, he is a young man of mediocre talent, without any outstanding characteristics, but who tries to close the gap with geniuses through hard work. In the field of competitive sports, every coach appreciates hard-working and diligent players. Pearson was no exception. Therefore, in order to reward his hard work in training and to allow the main players to rest in this cup match, Pearson decided to include him and another outstanding U21 player in the 18-man squad for the match against Stoke City. Since they've strategically forfeited this cup match, the outcome is no longer important. Let the young players make their first team debut. With that in mind, he made a decision. Jamal. Mahrez. Ling. Get up and warm up. Upon hearing this, a handsome young African man and a mature-looking black man on the bench immediately stood up. The black-haired youth whose name was called was taken aback. "Huh. I actually have a chance to play." No one knew that inside this 18-year-old body was a soul from 10 years in the future. 3 days ago, Ling Feng, a car from 2024, was involved in a car accident. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself back 10 years in the past, now a young man of mixed Chinese and British descent, playing for Leicester City's U21 youth team, and sharing the same name as himself. What he didn't expect was that along with it came a green field legend system. Just as he was included in the first team's 18-man roster for the away game against Stoke City, the system awakened and gifted him a newbie treasure chest. The treasure chest yielded a Kevin De Bruyne player card, granting Ling Feng one of Kevin De Bruyne's attributes and one talent. Ling Feng never expected that he would have the opportunity to play as a substitute today, even though he had just obtained the cheat yesterday. Isn't this heaven helping me? In an instant, countless scenarios of becoming famous overnight flashed through Ling Feng's mind. He paused for a moment, then suddenly jumped up from his seat and ran to the sidelines to warm up. A few minutes later, Ling Feng, having finished his warm-up, put on a jersey with Ling printed on the back and number 23, and stood on the sidelines with his two teammates. Glancing at the handsome young African man on his right, Ling Feng immediately recalled relevant information about him. One of the architects of the Foxes' miracle, the first African to win the Premier League MVP award, Riyad Mahrez, nicknamed King Mahrez. At this time, Mahrez had just transferred from Le Havre in League 2 and had not yet made an appearance for Leicester City. It can be said that this FA Cup match was not only Ling Feng's professional debut, but also Mahrez's Leicester City debut. Just then, perhaps noticing Mahrez wringing his hands and looking somewhat nervous, Ling Feng suddenly patted him on the shoulder and smiled. "Hey buddy, welcome to England." Turning to look at the Asian young man with dark hair beside him, Mahrez was taken aback at first, and then a ripple of emotion stirred within him. This was his first appearance for Leicester City, and he was facing a Premier League team, so he was a little nervous. Ling Feng's smile made him relax a little. In addition, since both of them were of mixed race and their skin tones were even more similar, Mahrez couldn't help but feel a sense of closeness to the black-haired young man who had spoken to him. Mahrez nodded to Ling Feng and replied in broken English, "Thanks." With a smile, Ling Feng didn't forget to give a high five to his more familiar U21 teammate, the black defensive midfielder, encouraging each other. "Go Jamal. You too, Ling." Upon seeing this, head coach Pearson, who was not far away, raised an eyebrow. This kid has quite the air of a general. However, he did not know that Ling Feng, who appeared calm on the surface, was actually experiencing a surge of emotions inside. Standing beside future Premier League MVP Riyad Mahrez, with the Stoke City fans singing in his ears and the players shouting to each other on the pitch, Ling Feng was completely infected by the enthusiastic atmosphere. Even the slight earthy smell of natural grass wafting into his nose made his heart race, a mixture of excitement and anticipation washing over him. There was a time when he dreamed of becoming a professional player, standing on the green field of the top 5 European leagues, and enjoying the cheers of the audience. Now, I am standing on the stage of the century-old English FA Cup, facing a Premier League team. This is so cool. The assistant coach pulled the three aside and briefly explained the tactics to each of them. In short, it's all about going up there and doing your own thing. After waiting on the sidelines for a while, the ball finally went dead on the field. At this moment, the referee, who had been waiting for a long time, picked up the substitution card. The commentator's voice was also broadcast throughout the entire stadium. With 80 minutes remaining, Leicester City are preparing to make 3 substitutions at once. Riyad Mahrez, number 26, replaces David Nugent, number 35. Number 26, Mahrez, is a new signing Leicester City recently acquired from League 2 for €500,000. The two young players, numbers 23 and 37, are both recently promoted from Leicester City's youth team. It seems Leicester City is considering giving up. Amidst the chants of Stoke City fans, Ling Feng excitedly stepped onto the pitch with his right leg. Leicester City's main formation is 4-4-2. However, after substituted their main striker Nugent, only one striker remained on the field, namely Jamie Vardy, the future soul of the Foxes. Therefore, under the head coach's command, the team changed to a 4-2-3-1 formation, with Ling Feng becoming the team's attacking midfielder. Mahrez moved to the right winger position, while another young black player, also promoted from the U21 team, moved to the defensive midfield position. "Keep going, guys, don't give up." Seeing Vardy, who was at the very front, raising his arms to cheer on his teammates, Ling Feng suddenly felt as if he had been transported to another world. Previously, he could only control these real-life football stars in various football games. But at this moment, he truly became a teammate fighting side by side with Vardy and Mahrez on the field. The Stoke fans' rousing chants, the commentator's voice, and the players' shouts on the field were all clearly audible and incredibly real. In an instant, Ling Feng subconsciously clenched his fists, his expression and eyes becoming unwavering. My childhood dream of playing football has now become a reality, right in front of me. What I need to do is to make sure it doesn't slip away and firmly grasp this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity in my own hands. Perhaps seeing that Leicester City had made 3 substitutions and were in the lead, Stoke City also substituted 3 key players to give them a rest. Even so, the stronger Stoke City pinned Leicester City in their own half, trying to score another goal and kill the game. However, encouraged by Vardy, the Leicester City players united and retreated to their own half. Ling Feng was no exception. With the defensive formation too crowded and little space for passing and penetration, Stoke City midfielder Charlie Adam couldn't suppress his attacking desire and unleashed a sudden shot from just outside the penalty area. However, the ball, which had just been launched, was blocked by Jamal, the black defensive midfielder who had just come on, and bounced away. Then Leicester City centre-back Waslaw Waslowski jumped up and headed the ball powerfully out of the penalty area. Seeing the football flying towards him, Ling Feng's eyes sharpened. He took a step forward and used his chest to stop the ball firmly at his feet. The attention of everyone in the Britannia Stadium was drawn to it. Looking at the football at his feet, several passing options suddenly popped into Ling Feng's mind. The next second, he made a decision. The counterattack begins now. All we could see was the black-haired youth wearing a blue jersey with the number 23, who gently flicked the ball with his right foot, sending it to his right front. Immediately afterwards, without raising his head or hesitating at all, he forcefully swung his right leg backward and pushed forward with the arch of his foot. A surgical through ball, as deadly as a scalpel, was delivered. The football flew swiftly across the grass, covering a distance of 60 meters from near the center circle, passing directly between Stoke City's 2 remaining defenders, and arriving precisely outside Stoke City's penalty area. A blue figure wearing the number 9 arrived on horseback. It's Leicester City's striker, Jamie Vardy. Mahrez transferred to Leicester City on January 11th. To serve the plot, the author introduced him earlier than expected. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Do I have some kind of cheat code that I need to tell you? Please add to your favorites. Please read on. Wow, what a beautiful through ball. Leicester City's number 23 delivered a 60-meter through ball. Let's see if Vardy can seize this opportunity. Amidst the exclamations of the commentators and fans, the game took a turn for the better. With the ball right in front of him, Vardy received it comfortably, without needing to adjust at all. He simply stretched his leg forward and dribbled the ball into the penalty area. Even amidst the cacophony of noise, the commentators' pronouncements, the jeers from numerous Stoke City fans, Vardy simply kept his eyes fixed firmly on the goal. He swung his right leg powerfully and unleashed a powerful shot. With a loud thud, the football flew towards the goal guarded by Stoke City goalkeeper Begovic, leaving only a blur. The distance was too close, the ball too fast, and it had already nestled into the goal. Begovic, standing on the goal line, instinctively raised his arms in a Gallic salute. As the white net was lifted, the 2,000 Leicester City fans who had accompanied the team to the stadium erupted in enthusiastic cheers. Meanwhile, the more than 20,000 home fans inside the stadium all instinctively put their hands on their heads and wore masks of pain. The Stoke City players on the field all wore expressions of disbelief. They never expected that with just one pass and one shot, their own team would concede a goal. Especially that through ball that pierced half the field. How did that dark-haired Asian kid manage that? He seized the opportunity. Goal! Goal, goal, goal. The score has been tied. Amidst the passionate commentary and cheers from Leicester City fans, Vardy didn't celebrate. Instead, he quickly ran into the goal, picked up the ball, and ran back. With 83 minutes already elapsed, Leicester City have little time left. They must race against time. After placing the ball at the center circle, Vardy approached Ling Feng, gave him a high five, and embraced him. Dude, that was a fantastic pass. How did you know I was going to run forward? Ling Feng had no doubt about Vardy's shooting skills. Keep in mind, this is the man who broke Van Nistelrooy's record of scoring in 10 consecutive Premier League games during the title-winning season, and who also won the Premier League Golden Boot at the advanced age of 33. Faced with Vardy's doubts, Ling Feng simply smiled and said, half-jokingly. Perhaps it's intuition. Intuition? Of course not. The reason why they were able to deliver such penetrating through balls without prior observation is quite simple. He has a cheat code. At this moment, a virtual holographic two-dimensional sports field exists in Ling Feng's mind. Your 11 pieces are blue, while the opponent's 11 pieces are red. He had complete control over the entire situation on the field, whether it was his teammates or his opponents. This is the effect of the S-level talent, God's vision, that Ling Feng obtained from the Kevin De Bruyne player card. His passing skills suddenly improved by leaps and bounds because of an attribute he acquired from the Kevin De Bruyne player card, passing. In other words, at this very moment, Ling Feng possesses the vision and passing skills of a Kevin De Bruyne. Although he called it intuition, he secretly harbored doubts. Do I have to tell you if I have cheat codes? That kid who just came on, his passes are so penetrating. That through ball was so ingenious. I declare that I have fallen in love with this dark-haired boy. By the way, what's his name again? Ling. Amid cheers and murmurs from Leicester City fans, other Leicester players gathered around the two players to celebrate the goal. Captain Wes Morgan didn't forget to offer his congratulations. Kid, congratulations on getting an assist in your debut. Yes, it was only after the captain reminded him that Ling Feng realized what was happening. With just his first pass, Ling Feng, making his debut for the first team, completed his first official assist in a professional match, helping the team equalize the score. Moreover, only 3 minutes had passed since he came on the field. While not as spectacular as Beckham's long-range lob, Owen's solo run was just as breathtaking. But wouldn't this be another example of becoming famous overnight? The cheers of Leicester City fans echoed in his ears. Ling Feng narrowed his eyes slightly, enjoying the wonderful moment. This feeling is absolutely intoxicating. Meanwhile, Leicester City manager Nigel Pearson and assistant coach Steve Walsh on the sidelines looked as if they were still savoring Ling Feng's 60-meter through ball. This pass reminded chief scout and assistant coach Steve Walsh of the 2002-03 Champions League group stage match between AC Milan and Real Madrid. In that match, Milan's number 10 delivered a mesmerizing 60-meter through ball, assisting the number 7, the nuclear warhead, to score the only goal of the game. Steve, did you see that? You mean that through ball? Leicester City manager Nigel Pearson nodded, then asked. Your scouting report didn't mention that he was capable of making passes like that. Although the whole goal-scoring process looked very simple, just one pass and one shot. But as professional coaches and chief scouts, Nigel Pearson and Steve Walsh certainly recognized the technical skill involved in that goal. Able to spot passing gaps and teammates' forward runs in an instant, and deliver a perfectly executed through ball that penetrates the entire defense. From their professional perspective, 99% of professional players couldn't deliver such a deadly through ball. Yes, Ling's passes have always been conventional and lack any penetrating power. Looking at Ling Feng, who appeared completely calm and collected on the field, Pearson immediately said. Also, did you notice? He didn't even look up to check, he made the decision to pass the ball the instant he received it. Upon hearing this, Walsh raised an eyebrow. Could it be that he knew Jamie would make a forward run and appear in that position? It should be noted that this was only Ling Feng's first appearance for the first team. He had never trained with the first team before, let alone understood his teammates' positioning habits. Pearson and Walsh exchanged a glance, and a word simultaneously came to their minds. Genius. Has this kid suddenly had a breakthrough? Let's take another look, maybe it's just a fluke. Unlike Leicester City's surprise and uncertainty, Stoke City manager Mark Hughes was initially taken aback by Ling Feng's incredible 60-meter through ball, but then immediately concluded that it was a fluke. If his own team hadn't pushed forward with all their might, leaving their defense vulnerable, how could this number 23 have so easily breached the entire backline with a single shot? Besides, if he could consistently deliver such lethal passes, how could Leicester City possibly bench him and make him wear such an oversized jersey number as 23? So, that dark-haired Asian boy must have been mistaken. However, no one knew that when that 60-meter through ball was passed, Ling Feng was also startled by himself. The perfect balance of power and arc, mastering the passing space, and the timing of teammates' runs. Most professional players probably couldn't make such a superhuman pass that spans half the court. But he did it with ease. As expected of the current best attacking midfielder, Coach Ding's vision and passing are just too amazing. At this moment, Ling Feng finally gained a certain understanding of his own vision and passing ability. The thought of being able to deliver those precise passes that Ding Yanhang made, with teammates like Vardy and Mahrez who dominate the Premier League, is incredibly appealing. Looking up at the big screen in the stadium, seeing the score at 1-1 and the limited time remaining, Ling Feng suddenly had a slightly crazy idea. Win this game. With Vardy's goal, the score is now 1-1. Both sides are back on equal footing. There are still a few minutes left in regulation time, and even with injury time added, it's less than 10 minutes. In order to secure a victory, Stoke City manager Mark Hughes waved his hands forward, signaling his players to push forward and attack. With the referee's whistle, the game resumed. Stoke City's players continued to press forward, attempting to break down Leicester City's defense using long balls and crosses. Given his team's high morale, Leicester City manager Pearson took a gamble and signaled his players to press forward. The coach's instructions were exactly what the players wanted. Except for the goalkeeper, the entire Leicester City team began to pounce on Stoke City's players like a pack of tireless mad dogs, pressing them high up the pitch. Although it was only the first time he had played alongside his teammates, Ling Feng was able to anticipate their running routes, as well as the opponent's positioning and passing routes. Stoke City's players found it extremely difficult to pass the ball due to their relentless pressing. It's worth noting that Stoke City's nickname is Sky City. Their strength lies in their high ball, high-hitting British style of play. But what about passing and control? It's just a so-so. Just as the game reached the 89th minute, Ling Feng anticipated Stoke City's defensive midfielder Nzonzi's passing route and intercepted the pass with a sudden acceleration. That amazing through ball from just now is still fresh in my mind. Realizing the danger, Stoke City centre-back and captain Ryan Shawcross immediately raised his hand, pointed at Ling Feng, and shouted, "Don't let him pass the ball." However, just before the menacing midfielder lunged forward, Ling Feng merely curled his lips into a smile and, with an extremely subtle leg swing, struck the ball diagonally below. The next second, a beautiful lobbed ball sailed over the heads of Shawcross and another centre-back, Huth, and landed on the right side of Stoke City's penalty area. A blue figure had already arrived. Special note, this book does not include any domestic storylines. The Chinese characters are only present to maintain their identity and will not use this identity to flaunt their patriotism or benefit from the Chinese diaspora. Please feel free to watch. End of this chapter. Chapter 3, A Comeback Victory, Instant Fame. Please add to your favorites. Please continue reading. Like Ling Feng, Riyad Mahrez is also making his first appearance for Leicester City's first team. Although they had no idea about Ling Feng's abilities or passing habits. However, the player's intuition told him that at the moment of transition between offense and defense, he, as a winger, had to move forward. Therefore, the moment he saw Ling Feng intercept the pass, he resolutely moved forward into the space behind the defender. It was his early start that allowed him to successfully beat the offside trap and get 2 body lengths ahead of the fullback defending him, reaching the ball's landing point. My God! It's number 23 again, and another precise pass that pierces the defense. Number 26, Mahrez, is a young winger making his first appearance for Leicester City. Can he seize this opportunity? Compared to the commentators' doubts and the fans' anxiety, Ling Feng remained calm, confident that Mahrez would not disappoint him. You should know that this handsome young African man is the man who will win the Premier League MVP in the future. Go, Mahrez, and give English football a taste of African power. Under the watchful eyes of everyone in the stadium, Mahrez lifted his left foot and lightly brought it to a stop, as if his foot was glued to the ground, and brought the falling ball to a steady stop in front of him. Without hesitation, he flicked the ball with the outside of his left foot and cut inside into the penalty area. After glancing at the goalkeeper's position, he made a slight adjustment, then swung his left foot and forcefully struck the bottom of the ball with the inside of his foot. The next second, the football was curled into a perfect arc and flew towards the far corner of the goal. Even though goalkeeper Begovic made a save immediately. But his outstretched right hand didn't touch the football at all. And just like that, the football spun into the goal, grazing the inside of the goalpost. The next second, the only 2,000 Leicester City fans in the stadium erupted in cheers, which instantly spread throughout the entire stadium. Meanwhile, the commentator, who witnessed the entire process, was also holding a microphone, his tone filled with excitement and enthusiasm. Goal! Unbelievable! Leicester City have actually taken the lead. They scored 2 goals in just 10 minutes. Amidst the commentators' excited words and the cheers of the Leicester City fans, Ling Feng, watching the ball go into the goal, also excitedly pumped his fist. Nice! At this moment, he was not only excited about scoring the goal, but also thrilled that he had personally orchestrated such a stunning comeback. Before he traveled through time, he was a huge football fan. Now, he found himself standing on the FA Cup stage, having joined forces with the weaker Championship side Leicester City to upset the Premier League's Stoke City. How can you not love football like this? As his emotions churned, he was suddenly grabbed and embraced by Mahrez, who was rushing towards him, who shouted in his ear. "Good pass, buddy." Ling Feng responded with a smile. "Your shot was fantastic." At that moment, the stadium director very opportunely focused the camera on the 2 heroes of the goal, Ling Feng and Mahrez. When Leicester City fans saw Ling Feng and Mahrez appear on the big screen, they instantly went wild. "I hereby declare that from this moment forward, I am a loyal fan of this kid number 23. That dark-haired kid's passes were so accurate, so sharp. What black-haired kid? His name is Ling Feng. Ling. Ling. Ling." From the initial sparse arrangement, it gradually became neat and uniform. All the Leicester City fans in the stadium began chanting the name on Ling Feng's jersey in unison. Faced with the fans' enthusiasm, Ling Feng was first taken aback, then felt an unprecedented sense of happiness and honor. Fans are a very simple bunch of people. They will not hesitate to applaud and cheer as long as the team and players they support perform well. Overwhelmed with excitement, he clenched his right fist and waved it forcefully at the Leicester City fans in the stands. Like a general who has just won a battle, he flaunts his muscles to the civilians who support him. This move only fueled an even louder cheer from Leicester City fans. "That kid is so cool. That's awesome." Meanwhile, other Leicester City players swarmed around Ling Feng and Mahrez. "Well done, Ling. Mahrez, that was a fantastic shot." As they spoke, the other teammates reached out and touched Ling Feng's head, ruffling his black hair into a bird's nest. Although he was thoroughly tortured by his teammates, Ling Feng was all smiles and thoroughly enjoyed it. Before he traveled through time, he could only watch the players run on the green field and celebrate their victories on TV. But now, he has become one of them. This is the feeling that every fan dreams of. A precise tackle, followed by a brilliant through ball to assist a teammate's goal. This 18-year-old Leicester City youngster simply dominated the game with his passing. Yes, I'm sure that no matter what the final result of this match is, he's already made a name for himself. After the match, his name will definitely be on the front page of football news and magazines. Amid the commentator's slightly excited voice, the Leicester players celebrated briefly before slowly returning to their own half. The time displayed on the stadium's big screen had already entered stoppage time. In other words, that goal just now was undoubtedly a game-winning goal. As Leicester City fans sang their anthem, "When You Smile," with great enthusiasm, the referee didn't give Stoke City many chances. After Stoke City launched a fierce attack for 2 minutes but still failed to equalize, he blew the final whistle. As the whistle blew, Leicester City fans erupted in cheers and shouts once again. The Leicester City players also raised their arms in celebration, releasing their excitement and joy over this comeback victory. In contrast, the Stoke City players looked bewildered, as if they still couldn't believe they had lost the game. Ling Feng clenched his fists, his expression excited as he let out a low, victorious roar. Yes. First professional match, won. At this moment, the commentators in the commentary booth summarized this exciting match. The match is over. A minor upset has occurred in the third round of the FA Cup, with Championship side Leicester City coming from behind to eliminate Premier League side Stoke City and advance to the next round. In the final moments of this match, 18-year-old Leicester City youngster Ling Feng announced his meteoric rise to prominence with 2 assists. It can be said that he single-handedly defeated Stoke City. A new star is rising in England. We might see him in the Championship, or even the Premier League, very soon. Meanwhile, some scouts watching from the stands had already taken out their phones and called the club without the commentator even needing to remind them. Their opening remarks were all the same. "Hey buddy, I found a genius. End of this chapter. Chapter 4 Leicester City's new trump card. Please add to your favorites. Please continue reading. With the end of the match, Ling Feng completed his professional debut and also achieved a system achievement. Ding dong. Achieved debut milestone. Achievement rating, A. Achievement reward, 2 free attribute points. The system notification sounded in Ling Feng's mind, and his heart stirred, but his expression remained calm. Seeing Mahrez walking towards him, Ling Feng smiled brightly and gave him a high five. Hey buddy, that was a cool shot. The goalkeeper couldn't even touch the ball. Riyadh, you can just call me Riyadh. After correcting Ling Feng's form of address, Mahrez asked, somewhat curiously, in broken English. Ling, your passing is just too amazing. Are all the youth team players in England like you? Like me what? Just as good. Seeing Mahrez's serious expression, Ling Feng laughed, then shrugged and joked. There are many players who are good at passing, but you probably won't find another one like me in the whole world. Upon hearing this, Mahrez nodded as if he understood. The Leicester City coaching staff on the sidelines were also excitedly celebrating this hard-won victory. While shaking hands with Stoke City manager Mark Hughes, Hughes suddenly spoke up. Although my team performed better, the result was indeed unexpected. To be honest, your number 23 was very good. Sensing the strong sense of resentment and admiration in the other person's voice, Leicester City manager Nigel Pearson had an idea and immediately struck a pose of arrogance. He is indeed quite good, but he still needs to hone his skills. Hopefully, we'll meet again in the Premier League. After saying that, Mark Hughes turned and walked into the players' tunnel. Turning his head, Pearson looked at the dark-haired youth on the field who had his arm around Mahrez's shoulder, and his gaze softened considerably. At this moment, he felt extremely fortunate for his decision to bring Ling Feng on. Not only did they reverse the score and win the game, but they also discovered a genius. Ling Feng's sudden emergence gave him an extra trump card. With Ling Feng on the team, Leicester City's chances of making the Premier League this year will only increase. The question is whether Ling Feng can consistently deliver such passes. Thinking of this, he turned to his assistant coach, Steve Walsh, and said, Steve, I think we've found a gem for the club. But hopefully his passing talent isn't just a flash in the pan. Have Ling report to the first team tomorrow. Upon hearing this, Steve Walsh smiled slightly. A very wise decision. After saying that, Pearson went to meet Ling Feng, who was walking towards the sidelines, and opened his arms to give the hero of the comeback a big hug. Well done, kid. The head coach's enthusiasm did not surprise Ling Feng too much. He simply gave a humble smile and thanked Pearson in person. Boss, thank you for giving me the opportunity to play. Although Ling Feng already possesses the vision and passing ability of a Kevin De Bruyne, he can rely entirely on his strength to establish himself in the first team. However, it is still very necessary to maintain a good relationship with the head coach. After all, it's the head coach who decides which 11 players will be on the field. Even the biggest star players may be benched and relegated to the youth team if they disobey the head coach. Moreover, he's just a young player who has just made his first team debut. It's far too early for him to act like a big shot. Ling Feng's attitude pleased Pearson greatly. He couldn't help but pat Ling Feng on the shoulder and immediately made a grand promise. Keep up the good work, I have high hopes for you. Ling Feng simply smiled shyly in response. When it came to selecting the best player of the game, Ling Feng, who played for only a dozen minutes but provided 2 assists and helped the team to a comeback victory, was successfully selected. Therefore, as soon as he stepped off the field and was about to walk towards the players' tunnel, he was pulled aside by several reporters to the mixed zone for a post-match interview. Facing the camera and the reporter with a microphone, Ling Feng, who was participating in a post-match interview for the first time, suddenly became a little nervous. This was his first time being interviewed by a reporter as a professional player. If I say something wrong, will I embarrass myself in front of many viewers and leave a dark history? However, thinking that he had already survived such a major event as transmigration and rebirth, what was there to be nervous about? He instantly relaxed. A male reporter in a suit placed a microphone in front of him and asked, "Congratulations, Ling Feng. Is that how you pronounce your name?" "Yes. Ling is my surname, and Feng is my given name. You are of mixed Chinese and British descent, right? Yes, my father met my mother while he was studying in London, and he stayed in the country to better take care of the family. After briefly inquiring about Ling Feng's family background, the male reporter continued with further questions. Let's get back to your performance on the field. This was your first team debut. How do you feel now? I feel great. First of all, I want to thank the head coach for his trust in me and for sending me on the field during the most intense moment of the game. Then I want to thank my teammates. Football is a team sport, without them, we couldn't have done this. Your passing was deadly, in just 10 minutes on the pitch, you delivered 2 amazing assists. I'm happy to have helped the team win. When facing a reporter's interview for the first time, Ling Feng, who had lived 2 lives, answered very humbly and calmly, not at all like an 18-year-old who had just made his debut. This brief post-match interview is destined to become important information for various clubs to assess his personality in the future. Thank you for your time. This is the best champagne of the night. Ling Feng only realized what was happening when the reporter handed him a bottle of red champagne with the FA Cup logo printed on it. It turns out that the FA Cup Man of the Match award isn't a trophy, but a bottle of champagne. Returning to the away team's locker room with champagne, Ling Feng was immediately grabbed by the shoulder by Vardy, who loudly teased him. Hey, our little hero is back with champagne. As soon as he finished speaking, the Leicester City players, led by their captain Wes Morgan, applauded Ling Feng. Clap clap clap. After the applause subsided, Ling Feng simply smiled broadly and expressed his gratitude to his teammates. Thank you everyone, I just did what I was supposed to do. He paused, then raised his glass of champagne. This champagne, I think, belongs not only to me, but also to you all. Because without your hard work for the first 80 minutes, there wouldn't have been the comeback in the last 10 minutes. Ling Feng's words stunned everyone present. They didn't expect that the young man, who had just been promoted from the youth team and was making his first appearance for the first team, would have such a high level of speaking ability. He's only 18, right? Within just 10 minutes on the field, Ling Feng's passing skills had already won them over. That kind of killer pass was something no one on the team could do. Having a teammate with exceptional passing skills is a good thing for both the team and the individual. After all, in the world of professional football, who wouldn't like to have strong teammates? End of this chapter. Chapter 5 Speed is the only way to win. Shortly after, head coach Pearson entered the locker room and his first words were a string of profanities. Guys, that was fucking awesome. A beautiful comeback. I am proud of the fighting spirit and unity you showed on the field. Snap snap snap. After a generous and enthusiastic round of applause, Pearson looked around at everyone, his gaze lingering briefly on Ling Feng and Mars before he smiled. Guys, you've earned yourselves a day off with your actions. Upon hearing this, a burst of enthusiastic cheers erupted in the away team's locker room. Ling Feng, on the other hand, looked completely bewildered. More than winning the game, why did his teammates seem more excited about the holiday? Of course, as a single guy, he wouldn't understand the joy of a holiday. On the evening of the match, the Leicester City players boarded the team bus and returned to Leicester. After returning to the Belvoir training base and saying goodbye to his other first-team teammates, Ling Feng went back to the youth team dormitory. Ling Feng's home is in the suburbs of Leicester, not far away. If you drive, it only takes half an hour. However, the 1-hour commute each way still felt somewhat wasteful to Ling Feng, who aspires to become a professional player. Therefore, after signing his first professional contract with the club on his 17th birthday, Ling Feng moved from his home to the youth team's dormitory. This way, he can dedicate an hour of his commute time to training. This made Ling Feng sigh, perhaps it was destiny that he had transmigrated into the body of this hard-working young man. He sent his own extraterrestrial soul, equipped with cheat codes, to this world to help him realize his football dream. No, to be more precise, it's about realizing the shared dream of the two of them. Because, whether it's Ling Feng in this world or Ling Feng 10 years later, he has a simple and pure dream of football. The youth team's dormitory was a small single room. There was only a bed and a set of table and chairs inside. If you want to take a shower or use the restroom, you have to go to a public bathroom or toilet. The only advantage of the small single room is that the view is decent. Outside the window is the youth team training field of the Belvoir base, where you can see lush green grass at any time. Since there are free dorm rooms available and they're close by, there's no need. Besides, with his current weekly wage of £100, he can't afford to rent a place. Sitting on the soft bed, Ling Feng finally found an opportunity to check his player interface. With a thought, a semi-transparent light screen, resembling a game character panel, suddenly popped up. Player name, Ling Feng. Age, 18. Height, 178 centimeters. Weight, 65. Predominant foot, right. Club, Leicester City. Talent, God's eye view. Attributes, ball control C, shooting D, passing S, defense D, physicality C, mental strength B. Overall rating, 73. Looking at his attribute panel, Ling Feng couldn't help but purse his lips. Apart from passing and mental spirit, none of the other 4 attributes reached grade B or above. If Ling Feng hadn't just acquired the passing attributes of Kevin De Bruyne, which boosted his overall rating, his original football ability would only have been around 50 or 60. According to the player evaluation mechanism in football games, a total rating of 50 or 60 is at most enough to play in the youth teams of the top 5 leagues, or as a substitute in some secondary leagues. In sports competitions, many factors determine the outcome. The key indicators for measuring the strength of a professional athlete are nothing more than 4 aspects: speed, strength, skill, and intelligence. In the world of professional football, it's a contest of speed and power, a clash of skill and football intelligence. Ling Feng didn't know whether having a system would allow him to improve his physical fitness and ball skills through daily training, or whether he would only be able to improve his attributes by completing tasks assigned by the system and allocating free attribute points. Only after a certain period of training, and by observing whether your attribute values have improved, will you know the answer. But right now, the question he needs to consider is which attribute to add these 2 freedom attributes to. It is worth mentioning that the 6 major attributes are not simply categorized, but rather encompass different subcategories. Instead of using letters to rate each item, numerical values are used to represent them more intuitively. For example, the S-level, passing, category includes 4 sub-attributes: short pass, long pass, cross, and curve. Having acquired De Bruyne's peak passing attributes, Ling Feng's 5 individual attributes are all ridiculously high. Short pass, 95, long pass, 97, cross, 97, curve, 98. In addition, the S-rank talent, God's vision, made Ling Feng's spirit, attribute, vision, reach a terrifying 99. Looking at the semi-transparent attribute panel, Ling Feng made a decision without thinking for too long. As the saying goes, in the world of martial arts, speed is the only way to break through. In the world of professional football, speed is an important metric for measuring a player's ability. The higher the speed attribute, the faster you can run on the field, allowing you to make offensive or defensive decisions before your opponent. Whether it's dribbling past opponents or defending, the faster side has a greater advantage. The body attribute category encompasses several subcategories: explosiveness, speed, balance, jumping, strength, reaction, endurance, constitution. The attributes closely related to speed are burst speed, and reaction. Ling Feng's burst is 70, speed is 70, and reaction is 72. Literally, the burst value affects his explosive power, whether he can reach the fastest speed in the shortest amount of time. Speed refers to the fastest speed he can achieve. The reaction metric refers to how quickly you react. The higher the value, the faster you react on the court. If we consider 99 as the highest possible value, Ling Feng's 3 attributes, explosiveness, speed, and reaction, all reach 70, which is neither fast nor slow among all professional players. That's more than enough for a midfielder. Of course, the required attributes will vary depending on the specific positioning and function of the midfielder. For example, the attacking midfielder, as the core of the attacking play, needs more passing, vision, and dribbling skills. The defensive midfielder, acting as a shield in front of the center-backs, needs greater stamina, strength, and tackling ability. Ling Feng was very confident that his amazing performance in the FA Cup would definitely earn him a spot on the first team. However, if he wants to stay in the first team and establish himself in the highly competitive championship, he must improve his physical strength, play to his strengths and avoid his weaknesses, and make full use of his passing ability. However, physical strength cannot be improved overnight. However, he can also improve his combat ability by gaining muscle and weight and through training, so there is no need to waste his precious free attribute points on this aspect. Having greater explosive power can also reduce the number of confrontations to some extent. Therefore, he did not hesitate to add 2 points of free attribute to burst, increasing it from 70 to 72. I don't seem to feel anything. After adding points, the game effect of the body glowing with golden light did not appear as I had imagined, and I did not feel any obvious changes. Perhaps only when running can you feel the subtle differences. Just as he was muttering to himself, the iPhone 5S on his desk suddenly rang with a crisp ringtone. I picked up my phone and saw the caller's name displayed on the screen. Mother. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The first fan, please add to your favorites. Please vote. The moment the call connected, a very gentle female voice came from the other end. Phone, where are you? Did I disturb you? No, I'm alone in the dorm. Mom called to tell you that your dad and I both watched the FA Cup match live. You played so well. Mom and Dad are so proud of you. Hearing these words, Ling Feng felt a strange sense of familiarity, and the corners of his mouth involuntarily turned up. Thank you, Mom. By the way, the team has a day off tomorrow, I'll tell you all about it when I get back. Okay, I'll go to the supermarket tomorrow morning to buy groceries and cook some of your favorite dishes. Before the words were finished, a deep male voice suddenly rang out from the other end of the phone. Ah, phone, let's have a couple of drinks tomorrow to celebrate. The speaker was none other than his father, Ling Feng. In England, it is legal to drink alcohol at the age of 18. However, for the sake of his son's career, Ling Feng never drank alcohol with him, not even red wine, and never let him touch a drop. Now that I've finally found a suitable reason, how could I let it go? Upon hearing this, Ling Feng smiled helplessly and replied, okay, see you tomorrow. After hanging up the phone, Ling Feng casually placed his phone on the table, leaned back, and lay down on the soft bed. Looking at the pure white ceiling, he couldn't help but recall the events of the day. In just one day, he stood on the FA Cup stage, a competition with a century-long history, making his professional debut and providing 2 assists to help his team come from behind to win. However, this is just the beginning. Ling Feng is not satisfied with shining in the FA Cup. He wants to stand on a higher stage and compete with those famous stars for the championship and honor. Since I've been reborn, I might as well live life to the fullest. And so, filled with anticipation for the future, Ling Feng closed his eyes and slowly drifted off to sleep. The next day. 7:30 in the morning. Under the bright sunshine, Ling Feng, wearing a cycling helmet and a black windbreaker, rode his Lonling bicycle, which he had bought with his first weekly salary, away from the Belvoir training base. In England, cycling is a very common mode of transportation. British law requires bicycles to be ridden in designated bike lanes. If there are no bike lanes, they must be ridden in motor vehicle lanes. Bicycles are not allowed to be ridden on sidewalks. If caught by the police, you will be fined. The morning rush hour begins at 8 a.m., and Leicester's bike lanes are relatively narrow. Therefore, Ling Feng deliberately set off half an hour earlier to avoid other cars on the road. In Leicester in January, the temperature was only a few degrees Celsius, and the biting cold wind made Ling Feng regret not getting a driver's license and buying a car to drive. Having only been in England for a few days, Ling Feng was still somewhat unaccustomed to the country's unpredictable weather. After riding in the motor vehicle lane for about 10 minutes, he stopped at a traffic light. At that moment, a small truck stopped on his right. Ling Feng glanced at it but didn't pay any attention. However, the driver, with his full beard, seemed to have seen something interesting, and looked slightly puzzled. The driver rolled down the window, glanced at Ling Feng, and then said, "Hey buddy, you look kind of familiar." Upon hearing this, Ling Feng turned around, about to speak, but was startled by the driver's suddenly raised voice. "It's you. That black-haired kid number 23 from yesterday." Upon hearing this, Ling Feng was taken aback for a moment, but then he realized what was going on. Has he been recognized? Before Ling Feng could react, the driver, very familiar with him, gave him a thumbs up and praised him. "Dude, your pass yesterday was absolutely brilliant. If it weren't for you, we might have lost the game. Your name is Ling, right?" Nodding, Ling Feng explained, "That's my surname. My full name is Ling Feng." Although he knew his amazing performance in the FA Cup would attract attention. However, Ling Feng never expected that he would enjoy the treatment of being recognized by passers-by so quickly. At this point, the red light went out and the green light came on. A car horn sounded from behind, interrupting their conversation. "Hey, can you stop up ahead for a bit? Let's talk." Ling Feng didn't think too much about the driver's request and simply nodded. After crossing the traffic light, the two came to the roadside. The first thing the driver said after getting out of the car was, "Hey buddy, can I get your autograph?" Upon hearing this, Ling Feng was taken aback at first, then casually replied, "Of course. But I didn't bring a pen. I brought it." The driver pulled a black marker from his pocket and then reached down to unzip his down jacket. The next second, Ling Feng saw that his brother was actually wearing a Leicester City home jersey from this season. This startled Ling Feng for a moment, but he quickly realized what was happening. No wonder they recognized me. Turns out they're Leicester City fans. However, what if you encounter Leicester City fans on the streets of Leicester? That makes perfect sense. Just as Ling Feng was in a daze, the driver pointed to the blank space next to the team emblem and gave him a longing look. "Sign here." Holding the marker in his hand, Ling Feng hesitated for a moment. "Are you sure you want me to sign this? I'm just a U21 player, and I only made my first team debut yesterday. I've been a Leicester City fan since I was 5 years old, and I've never seen any player on this team pass the ball better or more threateningly than you. I believe you will definitely become a superstar. By then, this autographed jersey will have great commemorative value." Upon hearing this, Ling Feng suddenly felt appreciated. Seeing the driver's smug expression, Ling Feng couldn't help but smile. "I have to say, buddy, you're much more confident than I am." As he spoke, he used a marker to sign his Chinese name on the driver's jersey. "It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. You can just call me William." After shaking hands with his older brother, Ling Feng immediately gave a sincere smile. "Big William, thank you. You are the first fan to ask me for an autograph." "You're welcome. By the way, will you be playing in next week's league match?" "I don't know, it depends on the coach's arrangements." After signing his name and exchanging a few pleasantries, perhaps in a hurry to deliver the goods, William waved goodbye to Ling Feng and drove off in his white pickup truck. Ling Feng was left with a lingering sense of satisfaction, savoring the little incident that had just occurred. Is this what it feels like to be asked for an autograph by fans? I love it. End of this chapter. Chapter 7 Promotion to the First Team. After the minor incident on the road, Ling Feng continued cycling and soon returned to his home in the suburbs. "I'm back." Upon seeing Ling Feng enter the house, his mother Julia immediately ran from the living room and gave him a big hug with a big smile on her face. 20 years ago, his father, Ling Shan, came from the Far East to study at the University of Leicester, where he met his mother. The two fell in love at first sight and soon got married. 2 years later, Ling Feng was born. As the only son in his family, Ling Feng was pampered from a young age. His parents have stood by him and supported him unconditionally ever since he announced his ambition to become a professional football player. Ling Feng's mother, Julia, was a native of Leicestershire and a very gentle woman. As Julia took Ling Feng's backpack, she reached out and touched her son's face, saying with a look of heartache, "Why are you so tanned again? Is training tough?" "Fine. Haven't had breakfast yet. I just made it, come and eat." "Okay." Holding his mother's hand, Ling Feng arrived at the restaurant and saw his father sitting at the head of the table. Wearing a white shirt and black-rimmed glasses, dressed like an intellectual, Ling Shan didn't put down his financial newspaper when he saw Ling Feng. Instead, he nodded to him and greeted him. "Son, welcome home." Responding with a smile, Ling Feng then took a seat on the right side of the dining table. The breakfast on the table was very lavish. In addition to Western-style bacon, sausage, and fried eggs, there are also Chinese-style millet porridge, fried dough sticks, steamed buns, shumai, and salted duck eggs. Looking at these Chinese breakfasts that were both unfamiliar and familiar, Ling Feng, who had been eating nutritious meals with the youth team for a few days, suddenly felt a strong urge to eat. "Son, try this. This steamed bun is so delicious. This shumai is delicious too. Eat slowly, no one's going to take it from you." Just as Ling Feng was happily enjoying his mother's cooking, his cell phone, which was in his pocket, suddenly vibrated. The bell rang. Ling Feng put down his chopsticks, took out his phone, and saw an unfamiliar number on the screen. "Hello." The next second, a slightly hoarse male voice came from the other end of the phone. "Ling, it's me, Walsh. Coach." The caller was Steve Walsh, the first team's assistant coach and chief scout. Before Ling Feng could speak, the other party said something that didn't surprise him at all. "Mr. Pearson told me to tell you to report to the first team tomorrow." Ling Shan and Julia were overjoyed to hear the good news that their son had been promoted to the first team. After a relaxing and cozy day at home, Ling Feng cycled back to the Belvoir training base the following morning to prepare for his first team career. Under the personal guidance of assistant coach Steve Walsh, Ling Feng entered the first team's locker room for the first time. From today onwards, Ling will be a member of the first team. Let's welcome him with a round of applause. As head coach Pearson announced the news, the Leicester City first team, led by captain Wes Morgan, applauded. The first team members were not surprised at all by Ling Feng's promotion to the first team. Based on his amazing performance in the last FA Cup match, he is fully capable of establishing himself in the first team. Therefore, apart from a few midfielders who were rivals and whose expressions weren't exactly enthusiastic, the other players were very welcoming of Ling Feng's arrival. It's worth mentioning that Jamal, the black defensive midfielder who made his first-team debut alongside him in the FA Cup, did not stay with the first team but returned to the youth team. With the addition of Ling Feng, a midfielder who has just been promoted to the first team, the entire first team has a total of 5 midfielders. Leicester City's tactical formation is primarily a flat 4-4-2. In other words, there are only 2 central midfielders in the starting lineup for each match. In the first half of the championship season, the 2 central midfield positions were rotated among the team's other 4 midfielders. Among them, Danny Drinkwater, a product of Manchester United's youth academy, is undoubtedly the midfield maestro. This guy's amusing name earned him a very fitting nickname from Chinese fans, Water Drinker Bro. Another young midfielder from Manchester United's youth academy, Matty James, is Drinkwater's midfield partner. The passing, playmaking, and defensive interceptions of these 2 former Manchester United academy players in midfield are one of the reasons why Leicester City have been able to maintain their top spot in the championship this season. The remaining 2 midfield rotation players are Andy King, a beloved, homegrown player who has spent 10 years at Leicester City, and Dean Hammond, a veteran midfielder who transferred from Southampton in the Premier League this season. The English Championship consists of 24 teams and 46 rounds of matches. Compared to the 38 rounds of the Premier League, plus cup competitions such as the League Cup and FA Cup, the Championship has a more concentrated schedule. Therefore, the 5-man midfield setup is actually just right. That's your spot. As a newcomer who has just been promoted to the first team, Ling Feng's position is in the far right corner of the locker room. In a wardrobe, there was a jersey with the number 23 hanging on it. The locker above has a sign that reads, Ling. This is Ling Feng's private space in the first team's locker room. It's worth mentioning that right next to him is Mahrez, who just transferred there. As soon as he sat down, the handsome young African man sitting next to him raised an eyebrow at him and then shook hands with him. "Welcome to the first team, buddy." "Thanks. After you change your clothes, gather at the training field." After saying that, the head coach and assistant coach turned and walked out of the locker room. At this moment, Wes Morgan, as the team captain, spoke in a deep, resonant voice. "Ling, how about you introduce yourself so everyone can get to know you?" Upon hearing this, Ling Feng was taken aback for a moment, then stood up without hesitation and went to the center of the locker room. He glanced around at everyone, showing no trace of the shyness or nervousness of a newcomer. He simply opened his arms and declared in a clear and resonant voice. "Good morning, guys. My name is Ling Feng. You can call me Ling, whether you're on or off the field. I hope to learn how to compete from you all, and fight alongside you to pursue victory and contribute my part to this team. Thanks. This poised, humble, and appropriate speech earned applause from the crowd. At the same time, it also left many people with some confusion and doubt. He doesn't look like a kid who's just been promoted to the first team and is only 18 years old. He looks more like a seasoned player who has been through thick and thin and has transferred from another club. Whether this kid can stay in the first team and fight alongside them depends on his performance on the field. While putting on his sneakers, Ling Feng observed everyone in the locker room. In his opinion, it would be difficult for him to become a key midfielder for the first team. Even with the passing skills and vision of a peak De Bruyne, he is fully capable of orchestrating the attack from midfield. However, his running and defensive abilities are far inferior to those of the other four midfielders. In the 4-4-2 formation, the two midfielders must be able to move up and down the field, not only to pass and organize the offense, but also to make active runs and defend. His running ability is passable. However, his defensive contribution is basically the worst on the team. Ling Feng believes that his best position is not midfielder or defensive midfielder, but attacking midfielder. Just like in the last game against Stoke City, with two midfielders behind him providing protection and sweeping up, he can fully unleash his attacking talent without any worries. However, in the 4-4-2 formation, there is no attacking midfielder position. Leicester City are having a smooth run in the league, so there's no need for the manager to rashly change tactics and formations. Modern football tactics are very complex and involve a wide range of factors. Even a simple change in position can have far-reaching consequences. Therefore, given that he couldn't get the head coach to change the tactics and formation for him, Ling Feng was very clear that if he wanted to get playing time, he had to work hard to adapt to the team's tactics and style of play, and then try to make the most of his time as a substitute. As long as you perform well on the field, everything will be fine. After all, in the brutal world of sports, being bad is the most unforgivable original sin. End of this chapter. Chapter 8 Inter-Team Showdown, Masterful Demeanor. Please read on. Please vote. Although it is the winter transfer window, major clubs are actively engaged in transfer operations and strengthening their squads. However, Leicester City's management and manager are very satisfied with the team's current structure and personnel. Aside from selling a fringe midfielder who had no playing time and promoting Ling Feng from the youth team to the first team, Leicester City did not make any other transfer moves. The entire first team has exactly 26 players. After donning a monitoring vest and changing into a long training uniform, Ling Feng followed the others to the training ground. Under the head coach's arrangement, everyone first had a physical training session to warm up. While keeping a close eye on Ling Feng's every move, head coach Pearson and assistant coach Walsh, standing on the sidelines, were whispering to each other. His explosiveness and speed are decent, and his height is acceptable, but his ability to withstand physical contact is worrying. His stamina is good. If he's placed in midfield, he can make a decent defensive contribution. He has a solid foundation. Given enough time, he should be able to adapt to the pace of championship matches very quickly. After the physical training session, a series of technical and tactical training sessions followed. During these training sessions, Ling Feng's strengths and weaknesses were fully exposed to his teammates and coaches. First, there are the advantages. In terms of passing skills, he is more than a level above all the first-team players on the field. The various passing techniques were dazzling. Outside of the foot pass, low through ball, over-the-top ball, 45-degree long pass. Every pass was so precise it was as if it had been measured with a ruler. Moreover, the force is just right, making it very easy and comfortable for teammates to receive the ball. The downside is that, apart from passing, other attacking skills such as ball control, dribbling, and shooting are only passable and not particularly outstanding. The defense, however, is passable. Besides being able to barely keep up with the attacking players and not lose his position, he can also anticipate the opponent's passing route from time to time and intercept it. Seeing Ling Feng's performance in training, the head coach and assistant coach had no regrets about their decision to promote Ling Feng to the first team. On the contrary, they confirmed something very important. Ling Feng's amazing pass in the FA Cup the other day was not a flash of inspiration, but a talent that can be replicated indefinitely. In the world of professional football, mediocrity is the worst compliment a player can receive. That means he has no distinguishing features. Having distinctive characteristics indicates that the player possesses outstanding talent in a certain area. According to the head coach and his teammates, Ling Feng possesses unparalleled talent in vision and passing, and has the great potential to become a midfield maestro like Xavi, Rui Costa, and Fabregas. As for other shortcomings, they can be improved through training. Of course, training is training, and real combat is real combat. Performing well in training without competition does not guarantee that you will perform at 100% in actual combat. Thinking of this, head coach Pearson shouted loudly. "Alright, guys, take a break. 5 minutes from now, we'll have a match." After a short rest, at the head coach's command, the first team was divided into two teams, A and B. After the main team puts on their orange vests, that's Team A. As a newcomer, Ling Feng was unsurprisingly assigned to Team B, which consisted of substitute players. Both sides adopted a parallel 4-4-2 formation. Ling Feng and Andy King anchored the midfield for Team B. With a whistle blast, the Leicester City intra-squad scrimmage officially began. After the kickoff, the stronger team quickly took control of the game. Leicester City's 4-4-2 formation relies heavily on the performance of their two midfielders. The two midfielders had to organize attacks and intercept defenses, almost a total offensive and defensive effort. Danny Drinkwater and Matty James are both English midfielders with solid fundamentals, strong physical presence, and excellent running ability. In addition, the two had been teammates in Manchester United's youth academy, so they had good chemistry. With the team having the overall superior strength, Team A suppressed Team B in their own half from the very beginning. This one-sided situation was not unexpected by the head coach. Pearson's expression remained unchanged, his gaze fixed on the black-haired youth on the field. He wanted to see if Ling Feng could still perform well when the team was at a disadvantage. You see, a genius player is someone who can do things that ordinary players can't. Running on the smooth, natural grass, Ling Feng immediately got into the zone. Through the visual map in his mind, he could clearly perceive the running routes of his teammates and the positioning of the opponents. He also knew where open spaces would appear and where teammates might fill in. The entire stadium was under his control. Faced with Team A's attack through two midfielders, Ling Feng wisely chose not to engage in a prolonged battle with them. Instead, he used his God's vision to predict the opponent's movement, positioned himself in advance, and blocked their passing lane. His excellent defensive positioning allowed him to intercept Team A's passes several times, thus disrupting Team A's offense. With Ling Feng's several precise interceptions and Andy King's tireless running, Team A's attack in the middle could not proceed smoothly, and they could only create opportunities by making strong breakthroughs on both wings. However, the effect was very mediocre. Leicester's left wing is led by 31-year-old veteran Lloyd Dale, who is one of the fastest players in the team and also has a powerful long-range shot. However, after turning 30, his speed declined significantly, and his ability to break through defenses also decreased sharply. Many times, when a breakthrough fails, the ball is passed back. On the right wing, Anthony Knockert, in his early 20s, isn't particularly fast. However, he has plenty of stamina and good technique, repeatedly gaining the upper hand in one-on-one situations against the B team's left back and delivering several threatening crosses. With a clang. Standing at only 1.8 meters tall but possessing a very strong physique, striker David Nugent won a header and slammed the ball hard against the crossbar of the goal. This was Team A's most threatening attack in the first 10 minutes of the game. The goalkeeper kicked off again, and after several passes, the ball quickly reached Ling Feng's feet. As soon as Ling Feng gets the ball, head coach Pearson on the sidelines immediately starts shouting. "Push them forward. Don't let him pass the ball easily." Upon hearing Pearson's arrangement, assistant coach Steve Walsh frowned. "Nigel, what are you doing?" The former, without turning his head, replied. "Keep in mind, this is just an intra-squad scrimmage for the first team. The pace of play in the Championship, and even the Premier League, will only be faster and more intense. I want to see if he can still deliver such accurate passes when facing pressure." Upon hearing this, Walsh opened his mouth but said nothing. He simply glanced at Ling Feng on the field, silently cheering him on in his heart. "Kid, let them see what you're made of." And Ling Feng did not disappoint them. Whenever he receives a pass from his teammate, he immediately passes it out, not giving the opposing players a chance to press him. He knew very well that with his current terrible ability to fight back, the best option was not to fight back. By passing the ball out with one touch and making runs into open spaces, Ling Feng adapted to the rhythm of the first team's game while methodically organizing the B team's attack. His God's eye view allows him to run into open spaces at any time to receive the ball, and then use passing techniques such as 1-2 passes to get rid of the opponent's entanglement and pressing. Whether it's dropping back to receive the ball in the backfield or linking up play in small areas in the front field, Ling Feng has shown a maturity beyond his years. Every pass on the field was so reasonable and penetrating. Ling Feng's superior performance caused several figures to simultaneously come to mind for head coach Pearson and assistant coach Walsh on the sidelines. For example, Barcelona's number 6, Juventus number 21, and Real Madrid's number 14. The figures of these midfield maestros gradually overlapped with Ling Feng's figure on the field. With such a playmaker on your team who can deliver threatening passes and control the team's rhythm, there will be absolutely no problem with your offense. Thinking of this, head coach Pearson frowned, then turned to his assistant coach with a serious expression and said, "Steve, we might need to prepare another set of tactics." End of this chapter. Chapter 9: The Traffic Code of British Media. Beep. With a long whistle from the head coach, the 45-minute scrimmage quickly came to an end. The final score was 2-2, with Team A, whose entire starting lineup was held to a draw by Team B, whose overall strength was slightly inferior. In just 45 minutes, Ling Feng's outstanding performance in midfield won over the first team's coaches and teammates. On the defensive end, although he was easily beaten by Team A's midfielders and forwards many times, he also made excellent predictions and positioned himself in advance to intercept the opponent's passes several times. On the offensive end, he single-handedly connected the entire B team into a relatively cohesive unit, firmly controlling the offensive rhythm in his own hands. Furthermore, with his wide field of vision and active running, he created openings and delivered many highly threatening passes. Every attack he participated in was as smooth as flowing water. If the substitute striker hadn't been so much worse at seizing opportunities than the starting striker, the score in this scrimmage would definitely have been much higher. It's worth mentioning that after the scrimmage ended, the other first-team teammates couldn't help but come up and give Ling Feng a high five. "Ling, you played very well. Man, that pass was fantastic." Faced with his teammates' praise and compliments, Ling Feng did not show any arrogance. He simply smiled back and gave them a high five. His composed demeanor didn't resemble that of a rookie who had just been promoted to the first team. His outstanding performance on the field, as well as his humble attitude off the field, won the favor of his teammates. "This kid is pretty good." And so, Ling Feng's first training session with the first team came to an end. Back indoors, after taking a hot shower and changing his clothes, Ling Feng went to the base's canteen. He had just received a chicken breast and kale salad from the chef when he heard a shout behind him. "Ling, over here." Looking towards the sound, I saw Mahrez sitting at a table by the French windows, waving at me. With a raised eyebrow, Ling Feng did not refuse Mahrez's invitation, but went to the table and pulled out a chair to sit down. "Hey, Riyadh." Having just transferred from League 2, 22-year-old Mahrez is a young man who left his homeland to make his way in the English football scene. Therefore, he hopes to communicate more with his teammates so that he can integrate into the Leicester City group as soon as possible. Ling Feng, who approached him on the eve of his last match, was, in his opinion, a very good choice. Ling Feng was also very happy to befriend Mahrez. Although Ling Feng doesn't speak French, Mahrez's English is also very poor. However, the two were still able to communicate normally using simple English words and gestures. Just as the two were discussing exchanging contact information, Captain Wes Morgan approached them with his phone and asked Ling Feng, "Guys, I need your numbers to add you to the team's group chat." "Oh, okay. My number is..." After adding Ling Feng and Mahrez to the team's group chat, Morgan didn't forget to check on Mahrez, who had just transferred, to see how he was adapting to his new life in England. Mahrez's dribbling and passing skills on the field were truly impressive. Morgan is very confident that Mahrez will become an indispensable player for Leicester City. For the sake of the team's performance and future, as the captain, should also help the newly transferred Mahrez integrate into the team as soon as possible. This is the responsibility of a team captain. After Captain Morgan left, the team striker, the future soul of the Foxes, Jamie Vardy, suddenly came to the table with a salad. "Hey guys, you don't mind me sitting here, do you?" Upon hearing this, Ling Feng simply shrugged and then pulled out a chair beside him. Of course. Jamie Vardy, who had just set a record for the highest transfer fee for a non-professional player last season, joined Leicester City. However, perhaps due to adaptation issues, he only scored 4 goals in 26 appearances during his first championship season. In his second season, which is this year, after adapting to the intensity of the championship and the defensive style, his goal tally began to skyrocket. They've already scored 8 goals in the first half of the season. It's doubled. His partnership with Nugent in the forward line became 2 sharp weapons for Leicester City in their attacking prowess. However, for Vardy, who has lofty dreams, he wants to score more goals. Therefore, after witnessing Ling Feng's superior vision and passing skills, and having tasted success in the FA Cup, Vardy knew very well that if he wanted to score more goals and surpass another main striker, Nugent, he could only rely on this young talent who had just been promoted to the first team and was only 18 years old. With a better relationship, Ling Feng will be able to pass the ball to him more often during the game. That would greatly increase my chances of scoring. Therefore, it is essential to maintain a good relationship with Ling Feng. While Ling Feng remained outwardly calm in response to Vardy's overtures, his heart was already stirred with emotion. He was somewhat flattered. However, after thinking about it carefully, Ling Feng felt relieved. With his exceptional vision and passing ability, he could be described as a bankrupt version of De Bruyne. Even though he is far from being at his peak as De Bruyne, he can certainly be called a master of creating chances in the championship. Every striker hopes to have a master at creating delicious and fragrant pies behind them. Therefore, it's quite normal for Vardy to want to improve his relationship with him. That's just how realistic the world of sports is. The strong will always earn respect. After a short break at the restaurant, the first team members went to the gym for strength training. However, apart from Ling Feng and Mahrez, as instructed by the head coach, the 2 players were temporarily exempt from strength training and instead went to the team's video room with the tactics coach. This is to allow the 2 players to adapt to the first team's tactics as quickly as possible. Over the next few days, Ling Feng participated in training as scheduled and quickly became close with his teammates in the first team. After each training session, he would go to the video room with Mahrez, where, under the guidance of the tactical coach, they would watch match videos to gain a deeper understanding of the first team's tactics. For example, how to position oneself on the field, how to organize and support play in the attacking third, and how to execute attacking strategies, etc. Although it incorporates the memories of its predecessor, it has a certain understanding of basic football tactics and knowledge. However, the tactical complexity of the youth team and the first team is on completely different levels. After the tactical lesson, Ling Feng, back in the players' dormitory, had to take out his densely filled notebook to review everything. Even with cheat codes, you still need to put in the corresponding effort to become stronger. Just as Ling Feng was quietly training at the Belvoir training base, the upset in the FA Cup began to unfold, bringing him a lot of media attention. The FA Cup, with its more than 100-year history, has always been a breeding ground for upsets. In this historic cup competition, in addition to the numerous classic battles presented by the top teams, many lower league teams have also shone brightly on this stage. They have repeatedly played the role of giant killers, bringing down many top clubs. These examples of underdogs defeating stronger opponents fully demonstrate to the world the allure of football. This is not the first time in FA Cup history that a championship team has defeated a Premier League team. Compared to the major upset 2 years ago in the FA Cup where Premier League side Wigan Athletic were eliminated by League Two side Swindon Town, Leicester City's comeback victory over Stoke City isn't too surprising. However, this match was made all the more special by one player. Because the player who led Leicester City to a comeback victory was an 18-year-old prodigy who suddenly appeared out of nowhere. After the conclusion of all matches in the third round of the FA Cup, newspapers such as the Daily Mail, the Times, the Mirror, and the Guardian all mentioned this minor upset in their sports sections. The reason is simple: the British media has always loved to discover and glorify prodigies who suddenly appear out of nowhere. Beckham, Rooney, Owen. For them, this is their secret to increasing sales. End of this chapter. Chapter 10, You will reap what you sow. In the name of sensationalism and traffic generation, the media showered Ling Feng with praises such as genius and rising star. British media have always loved to hype up their own country's young players. Even though Ling Feng is of mixed Chinese and British descent. But in the eyes of the media, he holds an English citizenship certificate, making him a genius of his own country. The Guardian published a photo on its social media account showing Ling Feng clenching his fist and looking at the stands with a determined gaze. The title, however, is thought-provoking, a fleeting success. Or the future of Blue Fox. In its report, The Guardian, staffed with professional scouts and football commentators, provided a detailed analysis of Ling Feng's 10-odd minutes on the FA Cup pitch and tentatively compared him to Cesc Fabregas. Like Fabregas, Ling Feng has average physical attributes and is not fast. He has excellent vision and his passes are highly imaginative and penetrating. However, Fabregas, who came from La Masia, has much better footwork and scoring ability than Ling Feng, and is more well-rounded. You could say that Ling Feng now is at best a bankrupt version of Fabregas. Fueled by the media hype, many Premier League scouts who watched the FA Cup match reported back to their respective clubs that Leicester has a young talent. The responses received were all to further observe. After all, Ling Feng's playing time in professional matches was a paltry 10 minutes or so. Judging solely from his performance in those 10 minutes or so, it's not enough to convince Premier League clubs to spend money to buy him. Even though his performance was practically impeccable. It is worth mentioning that the day after Ling Feng was officially promoted to the first team, Leicester City's official website updated the first team roster. Ling Feng, wearing number 23, appeared prominently on the list with a handsome half-body photo. Many Leicester City fans who watched the FA Cup match flooded the club's official website, leaving various comments. Fantastic. The club knows football. This dark-haired boy is definitely a genius. His passing is so inspired. I see the shadow of a midfield maestro in him. He's so handsome. Among the many comments, the one that received the most likes was posted by a user with the screen name, Big William. This netizen directly posted a photo. The photo shows a Leicester City blue home jersey. And on the chest of the jersey is Ling Feng's own autograph. I met this kid on the street, he was riding his bicycle. When I asked him for an autograph, he readily agreed. He was very polite and humble. I declare that from today onwards, I am his fan. Now that I think about it, I can't believe I forgot to take a picture with him. That's such a shame. However, besides the majority of comments expressing anticipation for Ling Feng, there were also a few comments questioning his abilities. He doesn't look strong enough, he'd be knocked away with the slightest touch. Whether he can establish himself in the championship is still uncertain. That pass was indeed good, but hopefully it's not just a flash in the pan. Regardless, with the media hype and the fans' attention, Ling Feng, like a small pebble, has created a ripple on the lake called English football. January 10th. Leicester City Football Club, Belvoir Training Ground. The tactics room was already filled with first-team players. Tomorrow, Leicester City will play their 25th round of matches. Their opponent is Derby County, nicknamed the Ram. After 24 rounds of league matches, Leicester City have a record of 16 wins, 3 draws and 5 losses, and sit at the top of the standings with 51 points. Their opponent, Derby County, has a record of 13 wins, 5 draws, and 6 losses, accumulating 44 points and ranking 4th. Burnley are second with a record of 13 wins, 8 draws and 3 losses, accumulating 47 points. Queen's Park Rangers, with 46 points, ranked 3rd. These 4 teams are strong contenders for the 2 direct promotion spots to the Premier League. The 4 teams are separated by only 5 points, less than 2 games apart. Therefore, this round's match against Derby County is a direct confrontation for a Premier League spot. A classic 6-point battle. Leicester City must beat Derby County to maintain their lead. Under normal circumstances, the head coach will announce the starting lineup and the 18-man roster the day before a league or cup match. This time was no exception. Alright, now I will announce the starting lineup for tomorrow. As the opening remarks began, Ling Feng saw head coach Pearson announce the starting 11 for tomorrow's home game against Derby County. Casper. Morgan. Danny, Drinkwater. Jamie, Vardy. When the last name was announced, many people in the tactics room showed expressions of surprise or astonishment. They all shared the same thought. Why was Ling Feng, who performed well in training and was touted by the media as a rising star, not included in the starting lineup? After announcing the starting lineup, head coach Pearson looked specifically at Ling Feng, who was sitting in the last row, wanting to observe his reaction. However, to his surprise, Ling Feng remained calm, showing no anger or frustration whatsoever. Seeing this, Pearson couldn't help but nod inwardly. This kid is very calm, not bad. However, he did not know that Ling Feng had already anticipated that he would not start. After all, he had only been promoted to the first team for a few days, and his understanding and coordination with the team's tactics and teammates were far from sufficient. Moreover, with the league halfway through, Leicester City's starting lineup has already been largely determined. Even if a player performs exceptionally well in training, it's perfectly normal for the head coach to hesitate to put him in the starting lineup. He guessed that, based on his skill level and training performance, he would definitely be able to make the reserve list. Sure enough, his name was on the list when the substitutes were announced. After announcing the 18-man roster, head coach Pearson went to a tactical whiteboard. Although we already have a computer and a projection screen. However, Pearson, as an old-school English coach, still preferred to explain the tactical details to the players on a whiteboard. David, once you receive the ball with your back to goal in the attacking third, immediately observe Jamie's movement. Marty, you need to provide toughness in midfield. After a series of tactical analyses and targeted deployments, the tactical meeting came to an end. Alright, that's enough for now. Go back and get some rest, see you on the field tomorrow. After the meeting, Ling Feng said goodbye to several teammates he was relatively familiar with, including Mahrez and Vardy, and returned to his dormitory room at the base. Sitting on the bed, turning his head to look out the window at the football field bathed in the setting sun, Ling Feng had only one thought in his mind. Tomorrow, he may make his championship debut. Thinking of this, his heart couldn't help but stir up waves of emotion. The past week was nothing short of a dream. He experienced many amazing moments that even professional players never get to experience. He came on as a substitute in the FA Cup and led the team to a comeback victory. He graced the sports pages of major media outlets, hailed as a rising star and a genius. He gained the approval of the fans, was recognized by them, and they asked him to sign his jersey. These plots, which only appear in novels, actually happened to me. This made Ling Feng even more engrossed in it. However, he was not blinded by the media's excessive praise. Having lived two lives, Ling Feng is not a naive young man, and he will not feel smug because of other people's flattery and praise. Because he knew very well that the media were a bunch of opportunists. When he performs well on the field, the media will lavish praise and hype him up. If he performs poorly on the field, the first to mock and kick him while he's down will definitely be these media outlets that are frantically praising him. If you want the media to always praise you and never give them a chance to kick you when you're down, then you must always maintain a high level of performance on the court. To achieve this, he must remain focused, continuously improve himself, and become stronger. Thinking of this, Ling Feng raised an eyebrow and opened his player interface. Through these few days of training and intra-team scrimmages, Ling Feng discovered something very important. That's his attribute value, which can be improved through training. The professional training he received with the first team changed some of his attributes. For example, the off-the-ball movement attribute in the spirit category has changed from 66 to 67. For example, the steal attribute in the defense category has increased from 38 to 40, and the man-marking attribute has increased from 35 to 37. From the changes in attribute values, Ling Feng roughly understood the underlying reasons. In short, whenever he completes a corresponding player skill on the training field or watches a game video, the corresponding attribute will gain training experience. After accumulating a certain amount of experience, the attribute value will increase. For example, if he intercepts the opponent's pass multiple times during an intra-team scrimmage, his steal attribute will gain experience. Once you accumulate enough experience, your attributes will increase. Just like playing a game. It's worth mentioning that over the past few days, the skill he used most on the field was passing. However, his passing ability did not improve at all. Ling Feng guessed that the effectiveness of the training might be related to the level of the attribute values. The lower the attribute, the less experience is required, and the easier it is to improve. The higher the attribute, the more experience is required, and the more difficult it is to improve. To master a skill, getting started is the easiest part. However, once you reach a certain level of skill, it will definitely be more difficult to refine your skills than when you first started. This is clearly perfectly reasonable. As long as he continues to train hard and with the help of the system, his relevant attributes will continue to improve, making him stronger and more well-rounded. Ling Feng suddenly felt a sense of anticipation, wondering what it would feel like one day when all 6 of his attributes reached S rank. End of this chapter. Chapter 11 Championship Debut. January 11, 2014, Saturday afternoon. More than 20,000 Leicester City fans flooded into the King Power Stadium, turning most of the stadium's seating area blue. Meanwhile, the Derby County fans, who had accompanied the away team, huddled in a section of the stands, shivering as they listened to the home fans singing the Leicester City anthem. Amidst the singing, players from both teams, each leading a caddy, slowly entered the stadium from the players' tunnel. Ling Feng, wearing a blue fox fur coat, and other substitute players also entered the field. This was his first time visiting Leicester City's home ground, the King Power Stadium. The sound of Blue Fox fans singing filled Ling Feng's ears, allowing him to truly feel the passion of the team's 12 players. Not long after they sat down on the bench, the commentator's magnetic voice rang out across the stadium. Welcome to the 25th round of the English Championship, where Leicester City will host Derby County. Leicester City's starting 11 is exactly the same as the lineup that defeated Millwall in the last league match. Kasper Schmeichel remains in goal. As for the substitutes, there's an extra young face. Ling Feng, the 18-year-old who was instrumental in eliminating Premier League side Stoke City in the 3rd round of the FA Cup, has made his first appearance in the league squad. As the commentator spoke, the broadcast camera on the sidelines pointed precisely at Ling Feng, who was sitting on the bench. Seeing this, Ling Feng simply gave the camera a handsome and sunny smile. That smile, which appeared on the broadcast, instantly melted the hearts of many female fans watching the game on TV. Even the commentator couldn't help but make a joke. Putting aside his ball skills, what a handsome young man. I think Leicester City manager Pearson is also trying to protect his players and doesn't want to push them too hard. I guess this young man will come on as a substitute in the second half to get a feel for the pace and intensity of the championship. Yes, I agree with you. Putting an 18-year-old with absolutely no league experience directly into the starting lineup, perhaps only that Frenchman from Arsenal would do something like that. Hearing the conversation between the two commentators, Ling Feng, sitting on the bench, couldn't help but smirk. It's no secret that Professor Wenger enjoys nurturing young talents. Promoting someone to the first team starting lineup in their teens and then playing in the Premier League is just basic stuff. In comparison, it seems somewhat like a failure that I haven't become a starter for a championship team at the age of 18. Even so, Ling Feng remains very confident that with his vision and passing ability, he is fully capable of establishing himself in the championship. Once you become a starter, you'll never go back to the bench. Although Pearson didn't have Wenger's boldness to use the league to help the team's young talents develop. However, he also highly values Ling Feng, this prodigy who has emerged out of nowhere in youth training. In the home team's locker room, head coach Pearson told him that, barring any unforeseen circumstances, he would come on as a substitute in the latter part of the second half and get some playing time. The fact that Pearson was willing to commit playing time to a newcomer who had just been promoted to the first team is enough to prove how much he values him. When he heard the head coach say those words, Ling Feng could even feel the envious and jealous looks from the other two substitute midfielders. There's nothing we can do about it, he's a great passer and handsome too. Soon, with the referee's long whistle, the match officially began. Having just been defeated 1-0 at home by Wigan Athletic in the last round, Derby County are at a disadvantage against the in-form league leaders at the King Power Stadium. With over 20,000 home fans chanting, "Blue Foxes, forward," Leicester City firmly controlled the game from the start. Vardy and Nugent, two highly aggressive forwards, took turns attacking Derby County's defense. Compared to the faster Vardy, David Nugent is physically stronger and more physically capable, making him thrive in the physically demanding Championship League. If Vardy is a sharp dagger piercing the enemy's heart, then Nugent is a battering ram. During his 2 seasons at Leicester City, he was able to contribute more than a dozen league goals each time. This season, he remains Leicester City's top scorer. He has made 23 appearances in the league so far and has scored 12 goals, which is among the best in the championship. However, Ling Feng's brilliant teamwork with Vardy in the last game, as well as his relationship with Vardy off the field, made him feel a sense of hidden crisis. Therefore, he intends to demonstrate his value to the team to the head coach through active running and pressing. But perseverance pays off, and he soon found an opportunity to score. Nugent. Headline goal. Goal. The score has been changed. Leicester City, playing at home, have taken the lead. The first half ended quickly amidst the deafening cheers of the Leicester City fans. Leicester City players returned to the dressing room with a 1-0 lead. "Well done, guys. We have completely overwhelmed them." After praising the players' performance in the locker room and adding some details about the offensive tactics, Pearson ended his brief pep talk. After halftime, the players from both sides returned to the field. Under Pearson's command, Leicester City pressed Derby County back into their own half and continued their relentless attack. In the 65th minute, Drinkwater's long-range shot from the edge of the penalty area made the score 2-0. With a 2-goal lead, Pearson, who was standing on the sidelines, immediately relaxed a lot. He glanced at his watch, then turned around, walked to the bench, and waved his hand dismissively. "Ling. Mahrez. You two go warm up." Upon hearing this, Ling Feng and Mahrez, who were intently watching the situation on the field, immediately stood up. When Ling Feng came to the sidelines to warm up, the cameramen immediately pointed their cameras at the rising star of Blue Fox, who was being touted by the media. With a 2-goal lead, Leicester City appeared to be planning to make some substitutions. Ling Feng, wearing an orange vest, appeared on the stadium's big screen, immediately drawing applause and cheers from most of the Leicester City fans in the stadium. In their eyes, Ling Feng, who came from Leicester City's youth academy, was like one of their own. Feeling the encouragement and enthusiasm of the fans, Ling Feng waved to the stands while warming up. Mahrez, who was warming up with him, looked on with envy. "Ling, the fans are all applauding for you." Upon hearing this, Ling Feng simply smiled slightly and then said with a serious expression, "Riyadh, I believe that with your ability, you will soon have the fans applauding and cheering for you." Having said that, he saw Pearson waving to the two of them, and quickly patted Mahrez on the shoulder, reminding him, "Let's go, it's our turn to perform." He came to the sidelines, took off his jacket and training pants, revealing his blue jersey underneath. "Ling, just like in the FA Cup, once you go up there, stand behind David, Nugent. Riyadh, you're in charge on the right." After giving the two players a brief tactical instruction, the ball went dead on the field. Ling Feng, number 23, and Mahrez, number 26, get ready to enter the game. As the fourth official raised the substitution board, Ling Feng was the first to step onto the smooth grass of the King Power Stadium. And so, Ling Feng made his debut in the English Championship. End of this chapter. Chapter 12. Harvey of Leicester City, please read on. Please vote. Following his first-team debut a few days ago, Leicester City's 18-year-old Ling Feng made his championship debut. Also appearing on stage was Algerian rising star Riyad Mahrez. Ling Feng came on, replacing veteran left-winger Lloyd Dale. Mahrez replaced right-winger Anthony Knockert. With the introduction of two substitutes, the formation on the field changed from 4-4-2 to 4-2-3-1. Forward Vardy was moved to the left wing and temporarily played as a left winger. Ling Feng, on the other hand, stood behind striker Nugent, playing the role of attacking midfielder. After Ling Feng came on as a substitute, Leicester City manager Pearson, standing on the sidelines, called out to his players. Pass the ball to Ling more often. In fact, Ling Feng's performance in training has already earned him the trust of his teammates. Even without the manager's instructions, the other Leicester City players are very willing to pass the ball to him to organize the attack. The shout didn't elicit a response from the Leicester City players, but it did attract the attention of the Derby County players. The Derby County players seemed to have noticed something and all looked at Ling Feng. Before the competition, they learned about Ling Feng's name and deeds through various channels. He came on as a substitute and provided 2 assists, helping his team to a comeback victory against Premier League side Stoke City. Before the match, the head coach emphasized Ling Feng's passing threat to them, stating that once the opponent's substitutes came on, they must press him closely and not let him pass the ball easily. Even so, most of the Derby County players were unconvinced. How capable could a greenhorn of only 18 years old be? Perhaps, this dark-haired boy is the key to turning the tide for them. Feeling the gazes directed at him by the Derby County players, Ling Feng maintained his composure, but inwardly cursed. Holy crap. Next time you're outlining tactics, could you please stop yelling at the enemy in front of them? Although he was internally complaining, Ling Feng was already mentally prepared. Since the FA Cup was introduced and excessively hyped by the media, he anticipated that he would definitely face special attention from opposing players when he was on the field. Sure enough, as soon as Drinkwater passed the ball to Ling Feng, the Derby County defensive midfielder lurking behind him immediately charged forward with an extremely fierce momentum. Clearly, he intended to give this dark-haired boy a hard time. However, before he could get close, Ling Feng seemed to have eyes in the back of his head. Without the slightest hesitation, he tapped the ball back to Drinkwater. Seeing Ling Feng pass the ball back, Derby County's defensive midfielder thought Ling Feng was afraid of his pressing, and while feeling smug, he couldn't help but slow down his pace. Ling Feng didn't care at all whether there was anyone behind him. He just sped up slightly and ran to an open space to receive the pass. Soon, everyone inside the King Power Stadium, including the spectators, commentators, and Derby County players on the pitch, noticed something strange. Does a soccer ball burn your feet? Why does this dark-haired boy seem so eager to pass the ball away the moment he gets it? Gradually, those who understood football began to notice some clues. That Leicester City number 23, through constant short passes and runs into open spaces in midfield, single-handedly formed a moving triangle with two midfield teammates, firmly controlling possession of the ball. Faced with the pressing and tackling of Derby County players, Ling Feng was always able to pass the ball out immediately, not giving the opponent a chance to foul or engage in confrontation. Derby County's players couldn't even touch the ball and could only retreat to defend, watching helplessly as Leicester City gained possession. Within 5 minutes of Ling Feng coming on, Leicester City had a terrifying 100% possession. This scene greatly surprised the commentators in the commentary booth. Wow! What did I just see? Is this Spanish tiki-taka? His agile positioning and very mature ball handling skills make it impossible to tell that he is only 18 years old. If it weren't for his blue jersey, I would have thought he was a product of La Masia's youth academy. Upon hearing this, Leicester City manager Pearson, who was sitting comfortably on the home team's bench with his legs crossed, couldn't help but reveal a smug look. He then smiled at his assistant coach, Walsh, who was standing next to him. It seems our decision was right. Apart from the coaching staff and Ling Feng himself, no one would know that this was a playing style tailored for Ling Feng by the coaching staff after comprehensively considering his personal strengths and weaknesses. The match videos that Ling Feng watched most often in the video room were Barcelona's match videos from the Dream Team era, as well as individual match highlights of Barcelona's mastermind Xavi. In Pearson and Walsh's eyes, Ling Feng is their Leicester City's Harvey. The purpose of using safe short passes in midfield to link up play is to lull the opponent into a false sense of security. Then, when the opposing players think they can only pass the ball safely and their defensive attention begins to relax, deliver the fatal blow. Through a series of short passes, Ling Feng finally found a gap in Derby County's formation. When Drinking Water Bro passed the ball to Ling Feng for the 26th time, he paused for a moment. Seeing that Ling Feng did not pass the ball out immediately, Derby County's defensive midfielder thought he was about to turn around and rushed over without hesitation. Now! Just as the defensive midfielder was aggressively rushing towards him from behind, Ling Feng's expression turned serious, and he passed the ball back to another midfielder, Matty James, who was following up to receive the pass. The moment he passed the ball, he immediately turned and ran forward, just barely brushing past the Derby County defensive midfielder who was making a tackle. Ling Feng could even see the look of astonishment written all over the other person's face. He, however, revealed a slightly sarcastic smile. "Little brat, are you confused yet? A beautiful turn." Seeing Ling Feng run forward to an open space, James passed the ball back to him again. With a simple 1-2 pass, Ling Feng dodged the defensive midfielder's rash challenge and gained space to pass the ball. Upon seeing this, Derby County's centre-back widened his eyes and instinctively opened his mouth to shout. "Push them forward." Derby County manager and former England manager Steve McLaren, standing on the sidelines, also called out to his players on the field. "Don't let him pass the ball." However, it was too late. Without the slightest hesitation or looking up to observe, Ling Feng forcefully swung his right leg and delivered a low, straight pass. The rapidly rolling ball passed between the centre-back and the left-back, reaching the right edge of Derby County's penalty area. This pass also drew praise from the commentator. An imaginative through ball. The ball pierced through the flanks of Derby County's defence and reached just outside the penalty area. "Oh, number 26, Mahrez." With the commentator's sudden exclamation, Mahrez, wearing the number 26 jersey, charged into the penalty area like the wind. This is the tacit understanding he and Ling Feng have built up during training and group sparring. Whenever Ling Feng is facing the goal and about to pass the ball, he will run into the space behind the fullback without hesitation. Because he knew very well that as long as he ran, Ling Feng would pass the ball to him comfortably. If we were to ask who has the best first-touch technique among all the Leicester City first-team players, then Riyad Mahrez, who just transferred in, would undoubtedly be number one. Facing the rapidly rolling ball and the goalkeeper rushing out from directly in front of him, Mahrez remained calm, like a heartless killer. Under the breathless gaze of tens of thousands of fans at King Power Stadium, he simply flicked the ball lightly with the bottom of his left foot. The next second, the ball flew over the Derby County goalkeeper's head and bounced into the empty net. Mahrez, facing the goalkeeper. A chip shot. Goal. Goal. With this deft chip shot, Mahrez scored his first goal in the championship. Ling Feng also got his first assist in the championship. Only 10 minutes had passed since he came on as a substitute. End of this chapter. Chapter 13 Away battle against the White Rose, please read on. Please vote. Boom. This goal was like a huge bomb, causing the entire King Power Stadium to erupt in deafening cheers. What a beautiful goal. The goal was beautiful, but the pass was even more beautiful. It's that number 23 again. That teamwork was fantastic. In the stands, fans waved their Leicester City blue scarves, fluttering like the wind. The Derby County players on the field all wore expressions of frustration and disappointment. This goal extinguished their fighting spirit and completely killed the game. At the same time, it also allowed them to witness firsthand Ling Feng's prowess. Simply by not pressing, the opponent turned around with a 1-2 pass and found a gap between the two defenders, creating a scoring opportunity. Recalling that surgical through ball, their eyes filled with surprise and doubt as they looked at Ling Feng. What baffled them most was that Ling Feng didn't even look up to check when he passed the ball. How did he know there was an opening? Could this be the future star hailed by the media as the next midfield maestro? Having witnessed the entire goal, scouts from various teams sitting in different corners of the stands unanimously pulled out their notebooks and excitedly recorded Ling Feng's first championship assist. Some even took out their phones and reported to their superiors. "It's me, that kid from Leicester City has provided another assist. His passing is impressive, he's definitely a rare talent." Amidst the fiery cheers in the stadium, Mahrez, who scored the goal, did not run to the corner flag alone to celebrate, but instead went straight to Ling Feng, where he gave him a high five and a hug. "Ling, that was a beautiful transmission. I knew you could get it." Ling Feng returned the smile and congratulated Mahrez. "Congratulations on scoring your first goal in the championship." As he spoke, his teammates gathered around to celebrate the goal. For the next 10 minutes, Derby County's players had lost their fighting spirit. Each and every one of them, like employees slacking off waiting to leave work, prayed in their hearts that the competition would end soon. Leicester City's players did not continue their attack, but instead, under Ling Feng's direction, firmly controlled possession until the final minute of the match. Beep beep beep. With the referee's long whistle, the match ended. Leicester City easily defeated Derby County, their direct rivals for promotion to the Premier League, 3-0, solidifying their top spot in the table. It was destined to be a frustrating afternoon for the visiting Derby County players. However, for Leicester City's players, it's wonderful. This is especially memorable for Ling Feng and Mahrez, who made their championship debuts. In his championship debut, he provided an assist within 20 minutes, helping his team to completely seal the victory. With a performance like that, the post-match rating should be at least 7 out of 10. As soon as Ling Feng returned to the locker room from the field, he heard the system's pleasant notification ring in his mind again. Ding dong. Achieved championship debut. Achievement rating, B. Achievement reward, 1 free attribute point. Upon hearing the system notification, a thoughtful look flickered in Ling Feng's dark eyes. As time went on, he gained a deeper understanding of his green field legend system. In addition to making player attribute data more intuitive, players can also achieve certain accomplishments and receive corresponding rewards whenever they perform well on the field. For the time being, both of his achievements are milestone moments. What if he helps his team get promoted to the Premier League and makes his Premier League debut? Or perhaps he could score 2 goals or provide 2 assists in the Premier League, or even complete a hat-trick. What rewards will the system offer then? Will there be a treasure chest that contains a Kevin De Bruyne player card? Ling Feng knew in his heart that if he wanted to find the answer, he had to dig it out himself. Leicester City secured a home victory against 4th-placed Derby County, taking all 3 points and maintaining their top spot in the league standings. However, Burnley, ranked 2nd, and Queen's Park Rangers, ranked 3rd, both defeated their opponents in the league matches that kicked off at the same time this round. Therefore, Leicester City's lead has not widened. A week later, they will travel to Elland Road Stadium in West Yorkshire for a real showdown with Leeds United, the White Roses. Away games are never easy. Moreover, their opponent is Leeds United, a team with formidable attacking firepower. However, after defeating Derby County at home, Leicester City have won their last 5 league matches. In addition, with their comeback victory against Stoke City in the FA Cup, they achieved an outstanding record of 6 consecutive wins in just 20 days. Riding a 6-game winning streak, Leicester City's players stormed into Elland Road. However, tens of thousands of fans at Elland Road defended their home ground honour with loud singing and boos. The Leeds United players are united in their determination to end the league leaders' winning streak. From the very first minute of the match, both teams were locked in a fierce battle for possession in midfield. Amidst intense competition and frequent fouls, the game unexpectedly reached a stalemate. The score remained 0-0 until the 60th minute of the match. Meanwhile, Leicester City, who had been unable to break through Leeds United's defense, almost conceded the lead to Leeds United from a corner kick. Corner kick. The curve is excellent. McCormack. As the commentator exclaimed in surprise, a figure wearing a white jersey with the number 45 suddenly jumped up. The next second, there was a loud thump as the ball slammed against the crossbar of the goal and bounced back. Leeds United striker Ross McCormack, standing in front of the goal, held his head in his hands, looking extremely frustrated. This Leeds United top scorer leads the league scoring charts with 16 goals. 6 of his goals were scored with headers. However, this time, he did not seem to be favoured by Lady Luck. A header from point-blank range somehow managed to hit the crossbar. The Leicester City players, including the usually composed Schmeichel and Captain Morgan, were all taken aback by the powerful header that struck the crossbar. As the ball was cleared out of bounds by a long kick from the defender, Leicester City manager Pearson on the sidelines couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. If that header goes into the goal, Leeds United's morale will surely be boosted. The upcoming matches will be even more difficult. To beat such a tough opponent on the road, changes must be made. Thinking of this, Pearson turned around without hesitation, waved to the substitutes warming up on the sidelines, and said in a deep voice, "Ling. Mahrez. You two, get out." End of this chapter. Chapter 14 Boos and a Show of Force, please read on. Please vote. When Ling Feng and Mahrez arrived at the sidelines, ready to come on as substitutes, the Leicester City fans who had travelled with the team to the away game erupted in enthusiastic cheers. Well done, Pearson. Ling should have been put on the field a long time ago. Mahrez is good too, the two of them have great chemistry. Amidst a sea of blue, William, wearing a Leicester City fan print jacket and a blue fox knit hat, was also present. As a member of Leicester City's largest grassroots fan organization, the Foxes, William is a native of Leicester and a loyal fan of the Blues. He has been a Leicester City season ticket holder and one of the most loyal supporters ever since he first went to the stadium to watch a Leicester City game at the age of 5. He attends every game at home. Rain or shine. Whenever time permits, he will drive his own small truck to the away game and cheer for the team from the stands. He is definitely the team's 12th man. At that moment, his face flushed red as he waved his blue fox fur scarf and shouted the name of Ling Feng, who was about to take the field as a substitute. Ling Feng. Ling Feng. Ling Feng. Many Leicester City fans around me also chanted the name of this young talent who came from their own youth academy. In their view, Ling Feng is the team's secret weapon that has been preventing them from breaking through the deadlock. He is also a hero who led his team to a comeback victory when they were behind. The incredible enthusiasm of the away fans prompted the commentator to jokingly remark, "Leicester City are preparing to make substitutions. Number 23, Ling Feng, and number 26, Mahrez, are standing on the sidelines, ready to enter the game." In the last match against Derby County, Ling Feng assisted Mahrez to score the team's third goal. And that was the 18-year-old's third assist in 2 games. No wonder the fans welcomed him with such enthusiasm. Perhaps he will become the hero of this match, or perhaps he will be wounded by the thorns of the white rose. Let's wait and see. Faced with the cheers and jubilation of the away fans, the home fans were not to be outdone. They immediately responded with even more boos and insults, trying to scare Ling Feng, who was about to take the stage, so much that he wet his pants. The air was filled with harsh boos and curses, but Ling Feng only frowned slightly, his expression calm. Mahrez, standing to the side, also had a serious expression. Even though his English wasn't very good, he could still understand the foul language used by the home fans. He didn't quite understand why Leeds United fans harbored such malice towards Ling Feng. Is this the football atmosphere in England? Ling, are you alright? Faced with Mahrez's concern, Ling Feng smiled brightly and replied loudly, "Very good." Ling Feng didn't care at all about the fans' offensive insults directed at him and his family, treating it as nothing more than a flock of ducks quacking in his ear. Because he is very clear that this is one of the daily routines that professional players must face. To shut the fans up, you have to show some real skill on the field. Shoo, shush louder. I'll make you all shut up. After making a silent vow to himself, Ling Feng high-fived the starting players who were substituted off the field, and then jogged onto the field. Similar to the previous match against Derby County, Leicester City changed their formation from 4-4-2 to 4-2-3-1 when Ling Feng came on. Despite Leicester City's substitutions, Leeds United, who were dominating the game, made no changes. Leeds United manager Brian McDermott simply shouted from the sidelines, "Mark number 23 closely, give him some physical contact," before returning to the bench. In his view, football is a team sport, and even the strongest individual has limitations. Even if an 18-year-old is good at passing, if he faces a lot of physical contact, he won't be able to pass very beautiful balls. The situation on the field is very favorable for them now. As long as they continue to attack, they will score soon. Leeds United play a very aggressive and direct style of play. The attack usually starts from the backfield, with a long pass to the forwards, who then use their individual skills to continuously attack the defense. Fortunately, Leicester City's defense is arguably the best in the league. The starting 2 centre-backs, Captain Wes Morgan and Wasilski, are both tall centre-backs over 1.9 meters. Although their turning speed is slow, their ability to intercept and contest headers is outstanding. Both players held their own against Leeds United's forwards in their battles and confrontations. The first encounter between the two sides at King Power Stadium ended in a 0-0 draw. This time, Leeds United, taking advantage of their home ground, are determined to end Leicester City's winning streak. Then they secured 3 points and advanced to the promotion playoffs. This proactive approach allowed Leeds United to take control of the game in the first 60 minutes, constantly pressuring Leicester City and creating repeated threats to the goal guarded by Schmeichel. The gates of Leicester were teetering on the brink of collapse, seemingly about to be breached. But that final layer of paper was never broken. However, after Ling Feng and Mahrez entered the game, the entire situation changed dramatically. Ling Feng's passing accuracy and success rate are the highest in the team. Mara's dribbling and ball control are in a class of their own within this Leicester City team. The introduction of these two players made Leicester City's ground passing and combination play much smoother. With their stamina high, the two players frequently combined through passing and movement, allowing Leicester City to maintain firm control of the ball and greatly reduce the defensive pressure on their backline. Under Ling Feng's passing and linking play, Leeds United's players were surprised to find that no matter how hard they pressed, they simply couldn't win the ball back. Without possession of the ball, Leeds United's fierce attack came to an abrupt end. Conversely, under Ling Feng's command, Leicester City gradually took control of the game. As time ticked away, the opponents continued to pass the ball around, and the Leeds United players, desperate for victory, finally lost their temper. Especially Leeds United's midfield stalwart, Michael Brown. This former Manchester City legend, who spent many years in English football, is known for his fierce tackles and numerous red and yellow cards. He once made headlines for a double-legged tackle on Manchester United legend Ryan Giggs. This time, the 36-year-old midfield maverick has set his sights on Ling Feng, who is half his age. Seeing Ling Feng receive the ball with his back to the goal again, Michael Brown's eyes flashed with malice, and he pounced on him without hesitation. "You little brat, I'll let you pass it on." Feeling the pressure from behind, Ling Feng directly passed the ball across to Drinkwater in midfield. However, to his surprise, the other party had no intention of letting him go. Perhaps due to declining physical strength and inability to control the momentum of his body, or perhaps to deliberately intimidate Ling Feng, Brown did not stop but instead charged straight at Ling Feng. "Damn it, you're trying to trick me." Before Ling Feng could dodge, he felt a force pushing against his back, causing him to lose his balance and be sent flying. End of this chapter. Chapter 15, Turning the Tables and Breaking the Stalemate. Ling Feng rolled around on the grass several times before finally stopping. Fortunately, the moment he landed, he instinctively rolled on his back to cushion the impact. Otherwise, even on soft grass, you'd fall and hurt your bones. Sitting on the grass, Ling Feng frowned, staring intently at Michael Brown, as if trying to memorize his appearance. Fouls are an integral part of football matches. Although I understand this principle in my heart. However, the instant Brown knocked him to the ground, a surge of anger rose up from the bottom of his heart. If the other party did it unintentionally, Ling Feng wouldn't care. But even after the ball had been passed, Brown still bumped into himself from behind. That was clearly a malicious foul. At that moment, a short whistle blew, and the referee dashed off to the crime scene. Without hesitation, he pulled a yellow gem warrior card from his pocket, showed it to Brown, and the referee didn't forget to warn this bad boy on the field who seemed to collect cards like water. "Stop moving." However, Brown, who had deliberately bumped into someone, slapped his shoulder forcefully, trying to justify himself. "Fuck. I just bumped him lightly with my shoulder, it didn't warrant a yellow card at all. He's too soft. I'm warning you, the ball has already been passed out. This is an unnecessary and dangerous move. Also, watch your words." Realizing he couldn't persuade the referee, Brown stopped pretending, glared at Ling Feng, and turned away with a disgruntled expression. Upon seeing their own player receive a yellow card, a chorus of boos erupted at Elland Road Stadium. Half the boos were directed at the referee, and the other half at Ling Feng. "That kid is too fragile, that's not a foul at all. This is normal confrontation. What is the referee doing? Are you eating shit? That's diving." Amidst the cacophony of insults, the nearby drinking water guy and Mahrez, along with Vardy who was a little further away, rushed to Ling Feng's side and protected him from behind. "Ling, are you alright?" Grasping Mahrez's outstretched hand, Ling Feng stood up, shook his head, and smiled slightly. "Fine." Glancing at Brown's defiant expression, the guy next to him, drinking water, couldn't help but offer a reminder. "That bastard has his eye on you, be careful to protect yourself." Upon hearing this, Ling Feng simply nodded. Michael Brown, who received a yellow card, didn't seem to care at all. After the referee left, he suddenly stepped forward, approached Ling Feng, and said in a low, provocative voice. "Football is not a sport for a greenhorn like you. Go home and drink your milk." Upon hearing this, Ling Feng simply gave him a solemn look without saying a word. He saw through Michael Brown's little scheme. Clearly, this seasoned veteran at the stadium is quite cunning. They tried to intimidate him with malicious fouls and verbal attacks, making him afraid and thus causing him to underperform. Or perhaps it will ignite his anger and cause him to act irrationally on the field. Ling Feng knew very well that whether it was the boos and insults from the fans in the stands or the malicious fouls committed by the players on the field, the ultimate goal was to help Leeds United win this game. I certainly can't let them succeed. The best way is to beat them on the field. We'll use our strength to shut them all up. With the referee's whistle, the game resumed. Leeds United had expected Brown's show of force to make Ling Feng hesitant to take the ball and organize play more. Unexpectedly, this little trick made Ling Feng more proactive in running into open spaces, and he even dropped back to the defensive midfield position to make short passes and support the two midfielders. With a series of short passes, Leicester City firmly controlled the game. Leeds United should take note, Derby County conceded a similar goal in their last match. Despite the commentators' reminders, Leeds United's coaches and players were powerless to help. They weren't unaware of the dangers of giving up possession of the ball, they simply couldn't win it back. Throughout the championship, most of the 24 teams, including Leicester City, adopt the open and aggressive style of play typical of English football. Whether it's a long pass and a cross, or a quick run through the midfield, the two wings launch attacks from both sides. However, when Ling Feng and Mahrez are both on the field, Leicester City have the option of using a possession-based tactic. Although this passing and possession tactic, which relies on one or two players, can only be considered a bankrupt version of passing and possession at best compared to top teams like Barcelona and Arsenal, who have passed the game through their very bones. However, this possession-based tactic, coupled with Leicester City's top-class squad in the championship, is enough to keep most championship teams from getting the ball. Leicester City's players were like experienced fishermen, constantly drawing out Leeds United's entire formation through short passes in their own half. And Ling Feng is the most crucial fishhook. Seeing his team being turned around and controlled, the Leeds United manager had already gotten up from the bench and come to the sidelines, shouting anxiously. Leicester City manager Pearson, meanwhile, sat with his legs crossed on the away team's bench, looking completely relaxed. The two contrasted sharply, fully reflecting the situation on the field at that moment. Pearson could see that, under Ling Feng's command, his team had completely taken control of the game. Scoring a goal was only a matter of time. Just as he predicted, the deadlock was finally broken when the game reached the 75th minute. Through constant provocation, Leeds United players became agitated and pressed forward relentlessly, pushing their entire formation forward and exposing a huge space behind their defense. And how could Ling Feng, who possesses the God's eye view, miss such an opportunity? After a 1-2 with the retreating centre-forward Nugent, Ling Feng successfully broke through the midfield blockade. He took 2 steps forward and then unhesitatingly swung his right leg to deliver a low, diagonal pass to the left. This incredibly fast diagonal pass directly penetrated the space between the centre-back and the right-back, reaching the edge of the penalty area. And there appeared was none other than Vardy, who had made a high-speed run from the left and successfully beat the offside trap. Beautiful pass. Ling Feng, number 23, has found another teammate. Vardy. Enter the penalty area. Face the goalkeeper. Amid the curses and prayers of tens of thousands of home fans, Vardy did not waste Ling Feng's pass. He unleashed a powerful shot, sending the ball slamming into the near corner of the goal. With a whoosh, the force was so great that it even lifted the net. Goal. Leicester City have broken the deadlock and are now 1-0 up at Elland Road. As the commentator delivered his passionate commentary, the tens of thousands of home fans at Elland Road Stadium fell completely silent. They all clutched their heads and groaned, their faces contorted in pain. They never expected that after dominating their opponents for so long, their team would concede the first goal. Meanwhile, the away fans cheered and jumped for joy, waving their blue fox scarves and singing the Vardy song. Jamie, Jamie, our Super Jamie. As the song played, Vardy, who scored the goal, didn't rush to the corner flag to celebrate passionately. Instead, he immediately found Ling Feng, who had provided the assist, and gave him a big hug. Dude, that was a perfect pass. While praising Ling Feng's pass, Vardy was also very satisfied with his initiative in showing goodwill to Ling Feng. Sure enough, getting along well with Ling Feng brings huge benefits. After high-fiving and hugging Ling Feng, Vardy raised his hand and pointed high at the handsome black-haired man beside him, as if announcing to the entire stadium. This goal was all thanks to this young man. End of this chapter. Chapter 16, The Impotent Rage of the Week. Amid cheers from the Leicester City fans, the other Leicester City players also came to the two players' sides to celebrate the goal together. While celebrating his goal, Captain Wes Morgan reminded his teammates not to get too carried away. "Well done, guys. But don't get too excited, the game isn't over yet. Keep it up." It's worth mentioning that although Centre Nugent had a smile on his face and seemed to be listening to his captain, his heart was in turmoil. In his opinion, if that diagonal pass had been to him, he could have shot the ball into the goal. Recalling how he hadn't rushed to Ling Feng's aid immediately after Brown knocked him down from behind, Nugent felt extremely annoyed and regretful. If this continues, what will happen if Ling Feng stops passing the ball to me and only passes it to Vardy? That won't do. Just as Nugent was silently making up his mind, the Leeds United manager stood on the sidelines, loudly reprimanding his players. "Fuck. What are you guys doing on the field? I already told you to stick close to number 23 and not let him pass the ball so easily. Don't you understand?" Faced with the coach's fury, the Leeds United players simply lowered their heads in silence. Many Leeds United players could only silently refute this in their hearts. Easier said than done. That number 23 has dropped back into the backfield, how are we supposed to mark him? And he really likes to pass the ball with one touch, how are we supposed to defend against that? If you're so capable, why don't you go do it yourself? After celebrating for almost half a minute, Ling Feng, whose black hair was now a mess, finally emerged from the throng of his teammates. Looking around at the home team fans in the stands who looked like wilted eggplants, Ling Feng immediately smiled. "Didn't you like to shush? Why don't you shush anymore?" At that moment, a bold idea suddenly popped into his mind. Ling Feng walked up to the blue stand where the Leicester City fans were, opened his arms and waved, as if to say to the fans, "Get more excited. Shout louder." This inspiring gesture not only elicited even louder cheers from Leicester City fans, but also jolted the home crowd awake from the blow of the goal, turning their anger into a burning rage directed at the dark-haired young man on the field. "Fuck you. Rubbish. You little brat." Faced with the deafening boos, insults, and various objects thrown from the stands by Leeds United fans, Ling Feng, however, had a smiling face and seemed to be enjoying himself. In his view, this was nothing more than the impotent rage of the week. Ultimately, the players on the field are the ones who decide the outcome of the game. He decided to score another goal against Leeds United to shut these fans up completely. With the score already behind, and considering Michael Brown's physical condition, it was impossible to maintain such a high-intensity pressing and tackling. To prevent him from getting carried away and requesting another yellow gem God of War card from the referee, which would turn 2 yellows into 1 red and send him off the field, the Leeds United manager took the opportunity to make a substitution. Leeds United made a substitution, replacing Michael Brown, who was carrying a yellow card, with player name missing. Leeds United have made 3 substitutions at once, they're going to fight tooth and nail. But isn't it a little too late? Yes, if they had made the substitution 5 minutes earlier, maintaining the energy and pressure in midfield, perhaps Leicester City wouldn't have scored that goal. That's football, things change in an instant, and anything can happen. This is Ling Feng's 4th assist in nearly 3 games. His efficiency of averaging 1 assist per game is simply amazing. He's had an assist in 3 consecutive games, all while coming off the bench. If he had started playing time earlier in the season, his assist tally would likely be among the top on the all-time assist list. Sidelines. Compared to the anxious Leeds United manager, Leicester City manager Pearson appeared remarkably calm upon seeing his players score. He simply high-fived assistant coach Walsh beside him, and then said with a slightly smug look, "Steve, our tactics worked." His performance in those short 10 minutes was simply impeccable. If we had started Ling from the beginning and adopted a 4-2-3-1 passing and control style of play, would our control have been even stronger? It's worth a try. Mahrez is more effective than Knockert on the right wing. Dier on the left wing is getting old, and his explosive ability on the wing has declined significantly. We can move Knockert to the left wing, or simply bench him. Aside from the right wing position, this formation only has one lone striker. Nugent and Vardy, who do you think is capable of filling that role? Upon hearing this, Walsh, who was both assistant coach and chief scout, stroked his chin and then replied. Vardy is faster and more agile, while Nugent is stronger in physical duels and a better target man in attack. Our tactics are executed around Ling Feng as the core. Therefore, I personally think that we should choose players who have better chemistry with Ling Feng. Listening to his old friend's words, Pearson glanced at Vardy and Nugent on the field, nodded slightly, and revealed a thoughtful expression. With a long whistle, the game resumed. After the kickoff from the center circle, Leeds United finally gained possession and launched a long-awaited attack. However, perhaps due to being too hasty and making the passing intention too obvious, the midfielder's long pass to the striker was cleared by Leicester City captain Morgan with a header. The ball flew out, but Drinking Water brother controlled it with his chest and a quick step, bringing it firmly under his control. Danny. Upon hearing Ling Feng call his name, brother Drinking Water passed the ball to him without hesitation. As soon as Ling Feng got the ball, a deafening chorus of boos erupted throughout Elland Road Stadium. However, this did not cause Ling Feng any trouble. On the contrary, it motivated him to make the decisive pass that would kill the game. Michael Brown, who committed the malicious foul against him, has been substituted. The only target of his retaliation was the tens of thousands of home fans at Elland Road who were booing him. You're still booing me, huh? Just wait until you can't boo anymore. Without the slightest hesitation, he launched a long, over-the-top pass that found its way behind the right back. It was an extremely open and spacious area. Mahrez, who had started early, ran into the area slightly ahead of the tracking fullbacks. After extending his left foot and using the outside of his foot to firmly stop the ball, he immediately sprinted towards Leeds United's penalty area. However, with Leeds United's left back chasing him frantically back, he was unable to cut inside and could only dribble towards the byline. Just before reaching the byline, Mahrez glanced into the penalty area and then swept his right foot across, delivering a triangular cross. Mahrez has reached the byline and has no space to shoot. What is he planning to do? Right foot. Passing the ball. Amid the commentator's exclamation, the ball rolled rapidly toward the penalty spot. At the same time, a blue figure had already surrounded them. That head of black hair, and that incredibly calm expression. It was Ling Feng who surged forward from behind. End of this chapter. Chapter 17, 1 assist and 1 goal, man of the match. As the ball rolled towards him at high speed, Ling Feng's expression turned serious. He was very clear about his own shooting skills. With a finishing ability of only 53, if he were to use the instep to shoot, he would likely miss or kick the ball into the stands. Therefore, he chose the safest shooting method, a push shot with the inside of his foot. Don't let him shoot. At the goalkeeper's shout, Ling Feng swung his right leg, and the inside of his foot struck the middle of the ball firmly. The next second, the ball became a blur, skimming the grass as it hurtled towards the goal. Because the distance was too close, and Ling Feng deliberately aimed for the goalkeeper's back corner. The goalkeeper instinctively opened his arms, but he couldn't stop the ball from going into the net. Goal! Goal! Looking at the football lying quietly inside the goal, Ling Feng blinked and realized something very important. My first professional goal, my first championship goal, just like that. The next second, Ling Feng, who had just realized what was happening, excitedly opened his arms and sprinted towards the corner flag area, performing a sliding knee slide. After seeing Mahrez's impressive knee slide last time, he had been secretly planning to do it himself when he scored a goal. Although only 2 stripes were left on the grass. However, this stylish knee slide still drew unanimous cheers from the away team's fans in the stadium. Nice shot. Well done. Damn, I love this kid to death. Standing up, Ling Feng stood in the corner area and suddenly spread his arms wide. His expression was arrogant, and his eyes were piercing. Like a king surveying his territory, he basked in the cheers and praise of the Leicester City fans. At this moment, this 18-year-old is the king who dominates Elland Road Stadium. The photographers nearby pressed the shutter of their cameras, capturing this moment that was destined to become a milestone in Ling Feng's career. 2-0. In just 5 minutes, thanks to Ling Feng's goal and assist, Leicester City took a 2-goal lead over Leeds United at Elland Road. The ever-changing situation on the field dealt a heavy blow to the tens of thousands of home fans, who all looked bewildered. For the first 60 minutes, weren't they the ones relentlessly attacking Leicester City? Why did the situation suddenly turn so bad, and why did they concede 2 goals in a row? When they saw the Leicester City players celebrating with Ling Feng in the center of the field, they immediately understood. Yes. Everything changed after that dark-haired kid came on as a substitute. This black-haired boy seemed completely unconcerned about the boos and curses from the crowd. Instead, it was as if his inner potential had been unleashed, and he began to unleash his full power. In just 5 minutes, he not only provided an assist but also scored a goal himself. Thinking about this, many Leeds United fans suddenly felt a pang of regret. If they don't boo Ling Feng or provoke him, will he perform less well? Or perhaps, the outcome of this match was already predetermined the moment Ling Feng stepped onto the stage. Trailing by 2 goals, there were still more than 10 minutes left in regular time. Under the manager's loud shouts, Leeds United's players pressed even more aggressively, trying to make a final push in the end of the game. Even a consolation goal can make home fans less heartbroken and angry when they leave Elland Road. However, under Ling Feng's command, Leicester City firmly controlled possession and gave Leeds United no chance at all. Leeds United's players and fans could only watch helplessly as the clock ticked away until the very last second. Beep beep beep. With the referee's long whistle, the final score of the match was 0-2. Leicester City, the Blue Foxes, easily defeated Leeds United, the White Roses, securing 3 points to maintain their top spot in the league. Leeds United, on the other hand, are even further away from finishing in the top 6 of the promotion playoffs. After the match, Ling Feng, who contributed a goal and an assist in just 30 minutes on the field, received the highest rating of the match, 7.75. He deservedly became the best player of the match. Before he could even change his clothes, Ling Feng arrived at the mixed zone and began his post-match interview with a Sky Sports reporter. "Ling, is it okay for you to call me that?" Ling Feng shrugged and flashed a handsome, sunny smile. "Of course, you can call me Feng if you like. A goal and an assist, what a special night, isn't it?" "Yes. I'm very grateful to the head coach for giving me the opportunity to play, and I'm also happy to have helped the team win. I also thank my teammates for their support. What would you like to say about the team's performance?" "Regarding the team's performance, I am very satisfied with the defense. Playing away from home is never easy." After asking several questions, I found that Ling Feng's answers were all watertight. So, the reporter, on a sudden impulse, asked a somewhat pointed question. "Ling, when you came on, the home fans at Elland Road booed you. Not only that, but in the second half of the game, every time you got the ball, the stadium booed you. I'm wondering, how did these boos affect you?" "To be honest, this is my first time visiting Elland Road Stadium, and the fans here are really enthusiastic." Ling Feng deliberately emphasized the word enthusiasm, and coupled with his raised eyebrows, he couldn't help but make the interviewing reporter smile. "As for the boos, I didn't feel it had much of an impact. In some ways, it's a motivation for me to perform better. They booed me so loudly because they thought I posed a threat to their team, didn't they?" Ling Feng's answer was witty but too official, which left the reporter somewhat dissatisfied. He couldn't help but increase the sharpness of the interview questions. "Let's talk about that foul. That was undoubtedly a card-worthy foul. The referee saw it and gave a yellow card, and I respect and support the referee's decision. After you received the yellow card, Michael Brown came up to you and said something. We're all curious, can you tell us?" Upon hearing this, Ling Feng seemed to have anticipated the question, and with a slight smile, he replied meaningfully. "That's a secret. But everything on the field is normal. After all, we each played for our own teams, and we all gave our all for the team's victory." After several rounds of back and forth, the Sky Sports reporter couldn't help but murmur to himself. "This kid is something else. I had hoped that this post-match interview would yield some sensational news from this championship newcomer." Unexpectedly, this handsome young man was so calm and composed in front of the camera. Was he specially trained as a club press officer, or was he just naturally good at speaking? The reporter did not get the answer he wanted, and the brief interview came to an end. As Ling Feng stepped back into the away team's locker room, two system notifications suddenly rang in his mind. Ding dong. Achieved the milestone of first championship goal. Achievement rating, B. Achievement reward, 1 free attribute point. Achieved championship man of the match. Achievement rating, B. Achievement reward, 1 free attribute point. End of this chapter. Chapter 18 Newspaper headline, Renowned Figures Approval, please read on. Please vote. Ling Feng's dominant performance in the away game against Leeds United has once again made him a hot topic on social media, in newspapers and magazines. 18 years old, handsome, and with outstanding ball skills. He possesses all the qualities that attract attention and make him the center of attention. The Championship is the second division of the English leagues. However, its intensity and excitement are among the top 10 in Europe. Its influence in England and even in European football should not be underestimated. Therefore, after this match, Ling Feng once again appeared on the sports pages of many media magazines. Whether watching on television or on the pitch, viewers and fans who have seen Ling Feng play will not deny one fact. Ling Feng is a rising star in the football world. This young man's talent and flair are overflowing when he plays football. Moreover, his consecutive substitute appearances and assists in helping the team win fully demonstrate his immediate impact. Even though he hasn't started a single game for Leicester City yet, he has already become the most dazzling star in Leicester. Therefore, the day after the match, the Leicester Mercury, a local Leicester newspaper, chose the photo of Ling Feng with his arms outstretched, accepting the cheers and applause of the fans, as its front page cover. The cover's title, in bold, large font, is a single, large word, genius. The people of Leicester completely treated Ling Feng, this handsome young man with Leicester blood, like their own child. Parents are naturally proud of their children's outstanding performance and want to show it off to the whole world. Therefore, it is not surprising that the Mercury News devoted 2 full pages to his story. In this report, the author first describes Ling Feng's steady progress in the youth team, his sudden emergence in the FA Cup, and his promotion to the first team, where he made consecutive substitute appearances, thus briefly outlining Ling Feng's short professional career. Then, football commentators were invited to analyze Ling Feng's playing style and explain his various abilities to the readers. Finally, the Mercury News also included a prize-winning fan poll at the end of the newspaper page. The voting item is to determine how many assists Ling Feng will ultimately receive this season. Fans can vote on the newspaper's official website, and the fan who correctly guesses Ling Feng's assist number this season will receive a free year subscription to the newspaper. Besides local newspapers jumping on the bandwagon, many football media outlets and magazines have launched a new round of praise and criticism for Ling Feng's performance. Leicester, Belvoir Training Ground. The team's massage room. Ling Feng, Mahrez, and other players, who had just finished physical training, were lying on massage beds, receiving a private massage from the team's physiotherapist. Just as Ling Feng closed his eyes, enjoying the soreness from his thigh muscles, he heard Mahrez's voice. "Hey buddy, did you see yesterday's Mercury News? You're on the front page." Upon hearing this, Ling Feng didn't even open his eyes before replying. "I didn't see it, but my parents bought a newspaper this morning and they called me to tell me." Ling Feng's calm reaction surprised Mahrez, who once again began to wonder. Is he really only 18 years old? If it were him, he would definitely call his parents, siblings, and even friends to brag about it. Looking at Ling Feng with his eyes closed, Mahrez couldn't help but ask the question that had been bothering him. "Why do you not seem excited at all?" "It's just making the front page, it's not a big deal." Although he said that, Ling Feng was secretly overjoyed. This is the first time he's ever made the front page of a newspaper. Mahrez was unaware that Ling Feng had already instructed his mother to carefully preserve the newspaper article depicting his first time on the front page as a keepsake. Of course, in order to maintain a composed image in front of his teammates, he definitely couldn't tell anyone about this. Even among the entire first team, Mahrez, with whom he has the best relationship. At this moment, Mahrez seemed to remember something, and picked up the iPhone from beside the bed, asking Ling Feng again. "By the way, Ling, how many Twitter followers do you have now?" "I don't know, I don't have Twitter on my phone." Upon hearing this, Mahrez showed a surprised expression. "What? You don't have Twitter?" As a young man who loves football, Ling Feng's predecessor always focused on football and had no time to make friends, let alone use social media. For him, the only functions of his phone were making calls, chatting with the team, and listening to music. You probably don't know that the fans are going crazy on the club's official Twitter account. What's going on? It's gone viral. Look. As soon as he finished speaking, Mahrez handed his phone to Ling Feng. Upon taking a look, Ling Feng saw that Leicester City's official Twitter account was already flooded with various comments from Leicester City fans. Ling Feng is the next midfield maestro. Let him start, please. He deserves a starting spot. Coach, Ling is starting, understand? Most Leicester City fans' comments, aside from praise, were calls for the club and manager to give him more playing time or to start him directly. To Ling Feng's surprise, the comment with the most likes was actually from Lineker. Gary Lineker, former England international. He played for clubs such as Leicester City, Everton, and Barcelona during his career, and won honours such as the Premier League Golden Boot, England Footballer of the Year, and World Golden Boot. He is also the second all-time top scorer for the England national team, with 48 goals and 80 appearances, second only to Bobby Charlton. After retiring, he focused on football commentary. In 1999, he became the presenter of the BBC's flagship football programme, Match of the Day, and has remained so ever since. Thanks to the immense influence of Match Day, the longest-running football programme in the Guinness World Records, this guy, nicknamed the Football Gentleman, has an unquestionable status in English football. He is witty, humorous, quick-witted, knowledgeable about football, and has excellent oratory skills, making him a popular figure. It's worth mentioning that his most influential contribution wasn't the number of football stars or matches he commented on, nor his status as a famous Messi fan, but rather a self-deprecating remark. After being eliminated from the finals of the 1990 World Cup and the 1996 European Championship by Germany on penalties, Lineker uttered a famous quote that has resonated throughout the football world ever since. What is football? Football is a sport invented by the British, in which 22 players fiercely compete for 90 minutes, and the Germans ultimately win. The rivalry and saga between England and Germany in football is so intense that it could take 10 days and 10 nights to tell the whole story. Therefore, this statement became a lasting source of pain for many English people. As a well-known Leicester City die-hard fan, Lineker also follows Leicester City's matches from time to time. He occasionally posts comments on Leicester City's official Twitter account to maintain his presence. This time, the comments were quite surprising. Ling Feng is absolutely the most creative midfielder Leicester City has ever had. From today onwards, I'm a fan of his. Ling Feng was somewhat flattered by the senior's praise. It's worth noting that the last player he praised so highly was Messi. The influence of celebrities is indeed remarkable. Lineker's comment received over 50,000 likes. End of this chapter. Chapter 19 Social Media Accounts, Energy Drinks. Seeing the comments on the club's official Twitter account, they were all praising themselves. Although Ling Feng tried his best to remain calm on the surface, he was secretly overjoyed. This person who complimented me on my looks has great taste. This person praised my ball skills and said I know a lot about the sport. Post more, I love reading them. Just as Ling Feng was happily scrolling through the comments section, Mahrez, standing beside him, opportunely offered a suggestion. Ling, do you want to create an account too? That way you can reply to them personally. Upon hearing this, Ling Feng raised an eyebrow and immediately nodded in agreement. Great idea. Creating an account is a very simple and quick process. Ling Feng chose his name in capital letters, Ling Feng, as his Twitter username. Then I chose a stunningly handsome selfie as my profile picture. 10 minutes later, Ling Feng had his own Twitter account. Under Mahrez's guidance, he first followed Leicester City's official Twitter account, and then followed all his first-team teammates, including Mahrez, Vardy, and Morgan. Then, he thought about it and also followed Leicester City legend Gary Lineker, who left a comment on the official Twitter account. Since you can't send private messages on Twitter if you don't follow each other. Therefore, Ling Feng could only go to Leicester City's official Twitter account and reply to Lineker's comment to express his gratitude. Thank you for the compliment, I will continue to work hard. A very official response. However, considering that he and Lineker had never met before, his attitude could be considered neither humble nor arrogant. After replying to Lineker, Ling Feng, under Mara's guidance, uploaded a photo of the two of them giving each other a thumbs up and posted his first tweet. The caption read, "Getting a massage with my buddies." After posting the tweet, before Ling Feng could even put his phone down, he heard it ringing repeatedly. When I opened Twitter, I noticed that the number of messages in the notification bar was increasing rapidly. Someone replied so quickly. Do these guys own property on Twitter? The number of comments, likes, and retweets under his first tweet is increasing rapidly at a visible rate. Upon opening the comments section, Ling Feng discovered that many people had expressed doubts about whether the account belonged to him personally. Wow, is that really me? Real person or imposter? It looks real, after all, if this photo wasn't of the person in it, it wouldn't be released. Since Ling Feng is not a celebrity and does not have a verified account on Twitter. Therefore, Ling Feng could only post another selfie with a peace sign, and then caption it. Guys, don't doubt it, this account belongs to me. After this second tweet was posted, confirming that the account owner was indeed Ling Feng, his follower count began to skyrocket. From just a few at the beginning, to hundreds, and then to thousands. Just half an hour later, his Twitter followers surpassed 10,000. The comments section was filled with expressions of love and praise. I love you, brother. You did a fantastic job yesterday. Heart gesture. Heart gesture. Just then, Ling Feng heard a system notification suddenly ring in his mind. Ding dong. Achieved the milestone of over 10,000 social media followers. Achievement rating, B. Achievement reward, energy drink. For a moment, Ling Feng was somewhat surprised. What's going on? Having over 10,000 social media followers is actually considered an achievement. Upon further thought, Ling Feng immediately realized what was going on. In other words, besides earning rewards for completing achievements on the field, you can also earn rewards for completing certain achievements off the field. Could it be that the ultimate goal of this, Greenfield Legend system, is not only to cultivate a legend on the field, but also to help him become a superstar with enormous influence off the field? For a football player, football is both a profession and a job. But that's not the whole of life. Thinking it through, Ling Feng felt relieved. Of course, these are all just his guesses. Whether that's really the case or not, he'll have to find out eventually. But what exactly is this energy drink? Driven by curiosity, Ling Feng immediately summoned the character panel. He quickly found an item inventory at the bottom of the panel. In the inventory, there was a small orange bottle that looked exactly like a canned beverage from a certain brand of milk. As he focused his gaze on the bottle of beverage, a notification window popped up. Item name, energy drink. Item effect, after drinking, stamina will immediately be restored to its optimal state. Seeing the effects of the energy drink, Ling Feng's eyes lit up. Holy crap, that's awesome. Imagine a crucial knockout match where both sides are locked in a stalemate, unable to determine a winner, forcing the game into overtime. Then, just when everyone's physical strength was nearing its limit, I drank the energy drink, and was immediately revived, returning to my optimal state of full strength. If used properly, such a prop can be a trump card that directly affects the outcome of the game. Give me a dozen of these drinks. That's what I thought in my heart. However, Ling Feng was very clear that powerful items like stamina drink were definitely not easy to obtain. For the time being, increasing the number of social media followers is the only way to obtain item rewards. There may be other ways, but he has to find them himself. It seems that in addition to performing as well as possible on the field, I also need to work on my life off the field. Exiting the character panel, Ling Feng, lost in thought, glanced at Mahrez beside him. If it weren't for Mahrez, he probably wouldn't have created a Twitter account, thus discovering this new channel for earning achievement rewards. Thinking of this, Ling Feng couldn't help but smile broadly and put his arm around Mahrez's shoulder. Riyadh, to celebrate making the front page of the newspaper, I'll treat you to a big meal tonight. Can I have lobster and caviar? Don't push your luck. Just as Ling Feng and Mahrez were discussing whether to go to a bar after their big meal, at the same time. In the team's tactics room. The entire Leicester City first-team coaching staff, led by head coach Pearson, was present. Everyone's expression was very serious. After eliminating Premier League side Stoke City in the previous round of the FA Cup, they held the draw for the next round. And their next opponent is an English Premier League team, Chelsea. This is why everyone looked grim. So many teams advanced to the fourth round, including teams from League One and the Championship. Why were they so unlucky to draw Premier League teams? And it's Chelsea, one of the Premier League's big six. They all suspected that the FA officials in charge of the draw might have forgotten to wash their hands after using the restroom. End of this chapter. Chapter 20 The Magic Bird's Doubts. For Leicester City, whose goal is to gain promotion to the Premier League this season, the FA Cup is a bit of a double-edged sword. It's tasteless to eat, but a pity to throw it away. What's more, their opponent is Chelsea, a Premier League powerhouse. Even if the opponent rotates their entire squad, Leicester City's chances of winning this game are not high, given the large number of matches and the very dense schedule in the Championship. After analysis by the coaching staff, Pearson decided to make extensive rotations in the FA Cup match. Winning is great, but losing is okay too. In this match, we will use a 4-2-3-1 formation, mainly organizing our attacks around Ling. Ling's passing is our strength. We can have him play as the team's corner kick and free kick specialist in this match, making more use of set pieces. Mahrez is playing better and better. We can attack the right flank more often and have Ling coordinate with him more. So, who do you plan to put in the striker position? Upon hearing the assistant coach's question, Pearson paused. Leicester City's first team has the most depth in terms of personnel across all positions, particularly in the forward position. In addition to Jamie Vardy and David Nugent, the consistent starting forward pairing, there are 4 other forwards. They are Kevin Phillips, who won the Premier League Golden Boot and the European Golden Boot with Sunderland more than a decade ago and is still playing professional football at the age of 40, Gary Taylor-Fletcher, a veteran striker who has spent many years in lower leagues, Chris Wood, a tall striker from New Zealand, and Tom Hope, a young striker who was promoted from the youth team. These players, some old and some young, are only so as substitutes in the Championship. If they were to start against a powerhouse like Chelsea, it would be tantamount to surrendering. After thinking it over, Pearson made the decision. Since we're going with tactic B, let's put Jamie Vardy in. Let's see if he can develop better chemistry with Ling Feng as a lone striker. On the other side. London, Cobham Base. Tactical Room. The Chelsea coaching staff, led by Jose Mourinho, is also holding a tactical meeting in preparation for the FA Cup match a few days later. However, compared to the serious expressions of the Leicester City coaching staff, the Chelsea coaching staff seemed quite relaxed. In their view, drawing a Championship team in the FA Cup is definitely a very favourable draw. Even though Leicester City are the Championship leaders, they don't take their opponents seriously. You know, they are Chelsea, the Blues. Seated at the head of the table, Mourinho, dressed in a blue Chelsea training kit, was intently reviewing the scouts' report on Leicester City. Returning to Stamford Bridge after 6 years, the special one, Mourinho is more composed and reserved than when he first arrived in England, when he was arrogant and domineering. His once black hair had long since turned grey. After winning the treble with Inter Milan and the title with Real Madrid, Mourinho, returning for his second stint, remains the most trusted leader of the team by owner Abramovich. And Mourinho did not disappoint the team owner and fans. Although the team did not have a smooth start to the season due to integration issues. However, after entering December, as the team gelled and its tactics improved, the team began to get back on track to winning. Since their 2-1 victory over Crystal Palace in the 16th round, the Portuguese manager's Chelsea team has achieved a terrifying record of 6 wins and 1 draw around the Christmas period, when the schedule is most congested. In the last league match, Mourinho's Chelsea defeated Manchester United 3-1 in front of 40,000 fans at Stamford Bridge. They not only solidified their third-place ranking but also relentlessly pursued Arsenal, who were at the top of the table. With a chance to compete for the league title and a place in the Champions League knockout stage, Chelsea's situation this season can be described as very promising. However, Chelsea, despite their high morale, harbors a hidden crisis. Because, with Chelsea's current squad depth, they simply cannot cope with competing on multiple fronts. After a grueling schedule around Christmas, most of Chelsea's key players showed signs of fatigue, and some also suffered injuries. Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup. In such situations, choices must be made. As one of the most successful coaches in football today, Mourinho is all too familiar with this situation. He slowly raised his head and made his decision very easily. We'll be making a complete rotation for this FA Cup match. Given the opportunity to compete for the Premier League title, we should naturally focus our energy on the league. As for the FA Cup and League Cup, just send substitutes and newcomers to gain experience. If we accidentally make it to the semi-finals, it's not too late to field our main lineup then. Drawing Leicester City in the FA Cup was Mourinho's first time leading his team against the Blue Foxes. Although I don't know much about this opponent. However, Mourinho never underestimates his opponents, no matter who they are. Moreover, this opponent from the Championship had just defeated a Premier League team in the last round. Mourinho casually put down his pen, looked up, and his sharp eyes shot towards his assistant, José Antonio Torreiro. "Antonio, let's begin." Upon hearing this, Torreiro, who was sitting opposite him, nodded, stood up, went to the computer, and began to operate it. Soon after, the match began to appear on the projection screen. The match footage being played was a highlight reel of the second half of the previous Leicester City vs Stoke City game. After the video ended, assistant coach Torreiro played another segment of the match. This video is a highlight reel of Leicester City's away win against Leeds United a few days ago. While the video was playing, assistant coach Torreiro would pause it from time to time to analyze and explain it to the rest of the coaching staff. In both matches, their number 23 player, Ling Feng, came on as a substitute in the second half. After he entered the game, Leicester City's formation changed from 4-4-2 to 4-2-3-1. This 18-year-old is incredibly talented. His passing, in particular, is extremely dangerous. In one cup match and 2 league games as a substitute, he's averaged 2 key passes per game. Based on my analysis, this number 23 is very likely to start in the upcoming FA Cup match and will definitely become the core of the tactics. Therefore, we must not let our guard down. Listening to his assistant's analysis, Mourinho, who was watching Ling Feng's match video for the first time, was already deeply attracted by Ling Feng's performance on the field. A ripple of emotion had already stirred within him. In his view, this Leicester City number 23 is definitely a genius with extraordinary potential. Extremely well-placed runs, excellent vision, creative passing, and the commanding presence he displays when controlling the team's tempo. All of this made Mourinho secretly surprised. He even mentally compared Ling Feng to the top midfielders he had coached. Deco, Sneijder, 272, Xabi Alonso. Then, he was surprised to find that the 18-year-old's passing, vision, and off-the-ball movement were in no way inferior to those of the top midfielders mentioned above. At this moment, Mourinho couldn't help but feel a sense of doubt. In England, a country known for its rough and tumble players, how could there be such a creative player? End of this chapter.